Brazil, arguably Rainbow Six as a whole, has to offer. Time to go and take down Team Liquid, who is another really storied team. It's going to be a lot of pressure. It's also something that Space Station have never done before. Here's a fun fact for you. These teams haven't versed each other since 2019, and they've never faced at a major or an SI, only the old miners. In those 3 encounters, Liquid has won every single time. Now, yes, that was a very long time ago, quite different rosters, but it really says something to the history between these teams.
And we do have some information on the screen now related to the map ban phase, and what are you thinking?
I mean, we have SSG betting out Cafe, and it seems to be a good map. Actually, for SSG, they played it a few times and won 3 out of their 5 matches. It's not maybe their best map, but it's a good map that they're taking away. We have Liquid betting out Clubhouse. That is one of their worst maps, you could potentially say. And the first map pick coming in for Space Station being Villa. That's an interesting one. It is one of their best maps. If you look at the stats, they've played it 4 times and won it 4 times.
Yeah, overall, I think Villa is a good map for both teams. That's the thing. Liquid are undefeated in recent history. You look back at the BR6 finals, they took down NIP 7-2, a really dominant one. So Space Station, like, they're rather than looking for maps that Team Liquid are going to be weaker on, they're going to go to maps that I think it's going to be a pretty solid chance for them, but also a strong map for their opponent. Oregon being the pick for Team Liquid, a fantastic map for them. 5-0 since the start of Stage 3. Most recently, a 7-4 just yesterday over Rogue. So a really strong map for them. That said, Space Station also undefeated since Stage 3. We've had some really dominant scorelines from them. 7-2 against DZ, 7-3 against TSM, but unproven internationally once again.
Dev, just dropping the facts here. I love it. But we are ready to get this match underway. But really quickly, we do have this interview with Team Liquid, so please take a listen.
I'm Paulo from Team Liquid. I'm normally the second entry-fragger. We had some roster changes. We changed Moringa and Sex Cake to Ask and Resets. We picked them because we wanted some young blood. Like, they are like really, how can I say, they are eating the game, you know? They are playing like all day the game, so they're all the time trying to improve in something, so it's great to have like some young blood, you know? We lost, especially in Mexico, that we lost against T1. It was like a loss that really hurt because they deserve it, of course. Like, their run was amazing, but like it was a, how can I say it was something like deep down, like it could be us, like there, you know. It's hard.
A quick 7-0 for Team 1. Not a single round being picked up by them.
In our game, we changed a lot of things as well. Like, we changed some roles that wasn't fitting as well for resets, and we kind of like made it through, and we won against an IP in the BR6 final, so I think we are ready. I think like there's no team that can make us afraid, like, but there are some strong teams. Like, I think SSG phase is always a great game. It goes like overtime and stuff. Like, I think those two are the biggest ones. The favorite, that one I think it will be Brazil now. Well, don't sleep on us.
Chaos, chaos, chaos. 2 unpredictable mercurial teams. You know, who's going to take this one? Well, right now I'm with Fresh and Jess, and who's winning?
Oh, I have no idea, Jess.
Yeah, I love how you all looked at each other and paused.
I have
Okay.
no idea, Jess.
Okay, what are we going to do?
Do you know how
then?
I'm going to decide this?
How?
I have with me 1 great British pound.
This
Jess.
is great. Okay.
And we're gonna flip a coin for it, okay?
All right.
So I'm gonna flip this coin.
This is happening,
We are the
everybody.
most professional analysts, by the way. You know.
So if it's heads,
Okay.
who's gonna win if it's heads?
CAG.
CAG. So if it's tails, then it would be
Ooh.
Rogue.
You guys are so cute.
Tails.
Wow.
Okay.
Oh.
So, Rogue?
Rogue, we're gonna say. And do you know why we wanted to flip a coin? Because both of these teams, they are so explosive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is going to be so hard to call because it's going to be such a frag fest going on inside of the server.
Yeah, and you know what? Since you picked Rogue, let's start off with Rogue. This is a historic Siege team. I feel like they really wanted to prove themselves yesterday, and they fell short, so I feel like they're going to be out for blood today. It's a new day, and Cyclops is a different team, so.
It is. They played okay yesterday. I think they were just completely outclassed by Team Liquid.
Yeah.
They said themselves, if they won a few more gunfights, they probably got at least a map, but Liquid are just a complete different animal to go up against. So for Rogue, it's going to be quite, an uphill task in this group.
Oh, look at Cyclops on your screens right now. One of the most formidable forces coming out of Japan, and they haven't played yet. I know for a fact that Jackie and I were speaking about it before, and she's like, what do we expect out of them? Well, that's why we flipped a coin, because, yeah, they're a 50-50 team. They either show up and obliterate you, or they kind of just a little bit of a slump.
Yeah, I feel like we keep on talking about how this is going to be spontaneous. Some would even say erratic, fresh. Who is going to capitalize off of the chaos today?
It absolutely could be anybody, and a point about Cyclops is that between the last two majors that they've attended, between Sweden, between Mexico, individually 4 of their players have gone -20 over the course of the tournament, which shows how erratic they are, because in the other tournament, respectively, in Sweden or Mexico, if they went -20 in Mexico, they were going positive in Sweden. So that kind of attests to just how up and down this team can be. When they're on it really well, but when they're not, they're not.
I have my cue cards here with nice little dot points, as good analysts do. You know, they bring their notes. And the very first dot point I have here under CAG for Cyclops is we haven't seen them since Mexico in an international format. People will disagree because they say when they go towards APAC South, they do those quals and whatnot. That's international play, but truly LAN international play, we haven't seen since Mexico. And the statute of limitations for me is like too far gone.
Yeah.
So I'm actually giving them a brand new foundation to work off of here. I'm going to give them this first game. I'm even going to give them another series beyond this to paint that brand new identity of CAG in 2022.
Okay, and we do have Rogue up on the screen now. We were talking a little bit before, a historic team. Yesterday, not so hot. Jess, Aces had a stellar performance yesterday, but, it wasn't enough. So what conditions does Rogue need to get this win?
Yeah, the win conditions, all of the rounds were pretty much off the back of Aces, as you said. And I think when you are going with sort of a 1.22 rating, and then you have Kryan, who's their frag main, he's on the sledge, he's on the Jaeger, etc. You see him on the far right top of your screen there. He is a big man, but he was not putting up big numbers whatsoever. He had a 0.4 rating after yesterday's game in 8 rounds. It was a bad showing from Rogue, and Aces attempted to carry everyone on his shoulders.
Kryan can sometimes go missing. I've teamed with him twice.
Oh, that's right.
I know how good and consistent he can be inside of scrims. Sometimes in the game day he goes missing. Sometimes he does go huge. I'm not sure.
Weren't you his coach?
What I will say,
Oh my gosh.
I mean, is it mentality? Is it stress? Is it
Overthinking?
Overthinking.
Yep.
What I will say is Kryan tries to be this ultimate flexible player, because he's kind of in this freeway power struggle, as I would call it, as who's the entry fragger on Rogue? Because Kryan by trade, he's an entry fragger. Aces by trade, he's an entry fragger. And sorry, I've just seen Kryan. And also Leon Gids by trade is also an entry fragger, and that's what you get out of Rogue. You get 3 players that want to be the entry fragger, so you're going to see early engagement. And I think Kryan sometimes tries to hold it back a little bit, and that's why he puts in these bad performances, because he doesn't let himself be himself and the player he wants to be.
Okay, we're taking a live look at the play area right now. We're moving into the map ban phase, so tell me what you're both thinking here, Jess.
I mean, Coastline going off the board. A lot of APAC teams like Coastline, so some people who don't know CAG very well are going to be like, whoa, why do they get rid of Coastline? Well, for Cyclops specifically, not one of their best maps by any means, but getting rid of Chalet, yeah, I'd probably get rid of that too if I was Rogue.
It's one of them. They started off a UL Stage 3 on Chalet. They liked that map, and it kind of deteriorated after that on that map. So, and as well, just coming back to the Coastline ban, Coastline is one of Rogue's favourite maps, so it's no surprise to see that one taken away.
Absolutely, and Clubhouse, we love a good old Clubhouse. It's almost like if you were to pick a map in the entire competitive map pool, and you're like, we can really identify who's the best team, we go on this map. However, Rogue will have to get rid of the Monty. I don't care what else they ban in all of the other bans, but they must get rid of the Monty on that map. Then it's an even Steven matchup. If they don't, I don't know, but it's their map pick.
All right, we are taking a live look at the play area again, and I'm shocked. They don't seem nervous. Everyone seems like pretty relaxed right now. So, I mean, predictions. How do we think this is going to go? We already know what Fresh picks. Jess, what about you? Off of his coin toss.
Yeah, you don't get an opinion now. In any expert way, your coin was the expert for you. Looking at the maps being Oregon, Clubhouse, and the decider being Villa, I'm looking over to, Rogue on Villa. I don't have anything, throughout this event or in recent times. And then I look over to Cyclops as well. And, I mean, Villa's not a map that they've shied away from. They've beaten people in the quals for it. I just don't know how much weight I want to put on that.
Okay, well, our teams are ready, everyone. So Liquid versus SSG, then Cyclops Ops versus Rogue. Take it away, casters.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to our matchup, our third here on the stream. Team Liquid versus Space Station Gaming. Yesterday, SSG did something that seemed almost unthinkable, which is win a best of 3 internationally. It was the first time in 18 months they accomplished it. And guess what? They did it over another Brazilian team.
They did it. It was actually quite unfortunate. I was watching the game on the couch in the talent room and I fell asleep due to jet lag. So, when I woke up this morning at 4 a.m., I watched it back. And I will just say, Parker, if this matchup...
him.
That's not what I meant. If this matchup right now between Liquid and SSG is just half the match of that between SSG and FaZe, we are in for a wild ride.
I mean, I agree. I also watched the match yesterday, and I gotta say, shocked is an understatement. I thought going in that Space Station had a fighting chance, but even though I predicted that SSG was going to win because eventually they have to stop losing, I thought that FaZe, being the defending major champions, coming in, had a very good shot. But just because you won an international event recently does not mean a thing. Look at Team 1. Struggling, eventually winning. Look at Ninjas in Pajamas, not doing particularly well either. These are the defending world champions. Liquid have very high expectations. They have watched their fellow countrymen win every single international event over the last 12 months. Liquid is the forever wedding party, never the bride, always the bridesmaid kind of deal. Oh. So for Liquid, they want to be desperately world champions. Let's get underway. Our very first map is going to be on Villa. And unsurprisingly, Thatcher is removed from the equation, as is Valkyrie. The Twitch ban, though, is a bit interesting.
Yeah, so SSG are not shy to target ban specific matchups on specific maps from their opponents. It's something they did yesterday, and it's something they've done historically in the past as well. SSG is a very adaptable, very dynamic team. You can argue that they do have one common factor between them, which is like, they usually play around hot and cold. He plays the Buck, he plays the Ying. That's what like the SSG during NAL was like. But I do think that now that we're on international level, I think SSG are gonna spread their arms and their shoulders much wider than during regular domestic play. The pulse ban coming out at the very end, this is heavily going to impact how that kitchen bomb site will be played out here in Villa, so we need to keep an eye on what teams will do to adapt. Maybe they'll bring an echo of information, or maybe they'll just go crazy on the roam instead. But either way, information will be extremely limited for both of these teams, as we have Liquid heading to that AVG defense in the first round, sixing onto the mirror from the Goyo, saying no thank you to the 2 shields, but thank you, yes sir, to those 2 mirror windows. Hot and cold, similar fashion, actually going from the Iana that has 2 grenades and a Gon 6 to a Flores that has 4 Retero drones.
Very important that you enunciate that word, because people don't want to hear Intero drones. They have to hear enough of Intero already in the broadcast. The last thing they want, Nick, is you saying my name over and over. As has been the case today, Mira escapes the ban phase unscathed. I like this pulse ban from Team Liquid. It suggests to me that they have done their homework. SSG, back when they had Canadian, and the fact that they still have Rampy, they like running Pulse. Rampy in particular, I remember so many times he'd play Pulse down in the basement of this map, roaming, making calls all the way up to that 2nd floor, and being very vocal with the rest of your team. If anybody follows Rampy on social media, you know how vocal he is. Imagine him now in an actual game. So that's said, we'll see exactly what SSG will do without the Pulse when they move to defense, but there's 6 rounds to get through before then. The very first defense for Team Liquid is going to occur over on AVG, oftentimes the standard first bomb site that teams like to run on Villa.
Yeah, and speaking of players, I think these 2 rosters we have right now are extremely stacked, right? Nesk and Paolo ranked number 2 and number 1 respectively on CCG overall, like across the board. SSG is full of Fultz, Bosco, Hot and Cold, Ramby, and Skies, and the last 3 remaining players of Liquid are called Reset and Ask, the new young gunners, and then of course PSK1, the veteran himself. I actually have a PSK jersey, so that's pretty cool that I got that going for myself. But yeah, both rosters are extremely stacked, and we're starting off on that AVG defense with SSG opting to go for that roam clear, going on master side and kitchen. Paolo and Ramby might have an early engagement on one another. I think both players are somewhat aware of what's going on. Ramby chooses to go for a nade vertically instead, pins it, unpins it, pins it, unpins it. Not sure exactly where to strike, but here we go. Decision has been made. Tosses it. Nothing happens. The floor breaks. That's a start. No one has died just yet.
Nobody even close to them as the LMG in the hands of Fultz will try to find Nesk, but cannot do that. Paulo's still creeping up. Right now on the pantry stairs, but he hears the sledging happening not too far away. He thinks otherwise of this engagement. Rampy doesn't want to be spotted by the cam, and he'll be droned up the stairs into Astronomy. Swinging away, I'm not exactly sure what his intention was there. He'll just continue to walk around this Mira. There's nobody from Liquid actively holding this. Half of the round gone, and Liquid have very smartly fallen off the trophy and statuary portion of the map, ceded control of Astronomy, and they're now much closer to this AVG bomb site.
Yeah, this is something that we started to see a lot here during this Invite 2022, is that teams have a soft cap timer where they say, well, we extend out, but when the timer reaches a certain point, usually a minute or a minute and a half, we don't care about staying anymore, because as time goes on, it gets progressively more difficult and more scary to stick around. And if you look top right of your screen, Liquid has annihilated 5 drones from the side of SSG, and they've burned so much time. SSG has now cleared half the map. They're at this top red 90 position, and this is where it gets the most difficult as an attacker. You need to rotate people onto the study balcony and still keep about 3 people on this top red area, otherwise you can't pins.
It's a very aggressive hold from Ask, looking with 30 seconds left at the top of the stairs, but he won't be peaked yet. Rampy knows that somebody's there as he drones it out, goes back on to watch the flank. 25 seconds as those 5 seconds that have transpired have allowed a toxic canister to get thrown on down, and Rampy will breathe in some of that and follow in the nade. Continuing onwards, look at this confidence. Down goes the first body from Liquid, another will fall, yet another. The only kills coming in from PSK. He's still upright, very low on HP. Playing inside of Study, diffuser getting planted by Skies, so PSK will spray through the wall, but a desperate attempt as a Nitro Cell goes off and it gets Bosco, but not the intended target. So Skies gets the diffuser down, and in the post plant, they try to soften up the remaining members of Liquid. PSK and Rampy on the same HP, Palu and Skies at full. Sitting on that diffuser is Skies. And down below, Palu will go, trying to, at best as he can, get the diffuser from below. Another from PSK, but he's shut down by Rampy. So Palu will need to return to the site. Popping out the mirror windows, Rampy will play safely inside of the safe, waiting on calls. 10 seconds is the magic number, and he spots it. An incredible first round from Rampy, and SSG starts things off with a win.
Absolutely massive round from Rampy. What a big brain genius injury. Tosses a nade off the wall, it bounces to vault door. He runs right through it once it explodes and gets 2 interkills to open up the round for his team. Paolo is roaming around the map right behind SSG. If they weren't quick on the entry, they would have possibly been flanked. The C4 from Paolo down below from lobby made really good sense, but Kid Skies planting was one step ahead. They had not... Well, I'll rephrase there. Kid Skies wasn't planting on the default position behind the bar. He was actually tucked in the hard wall corner next to Study. So the C4, yes, it gets a kill, but it doesn't kill the important player, the guy who's planting. Absolutely massive from Rampy and Skies, just doing phenomenal work. 4K for Rampy, and that is the first round for SSG. And what looked like a very... I would say awkward round. They spent a lot of time, lost a lot of drones, and it looked like they had to make a big play, but then they stepped up and they just did that. Or did just that.
Same thing.
Same.
Trophy Statuary second bomb site. This was held, as you said, for that soft amount of time, that soft timer, that soft cap. SSG used to do that as a team way back in the day, especially on Oregon. Before Oregon was reworked, SSG would hold meeting with those hatches and then drop back to the bomb site after about the minute to 90-second mark. Liquid doing the exact same thing on that previous round.
Yep.
It doesn't do them any good. Despite it coming down to a 1v1 shootout, SSG walks away with that round victory. This time, quite a considerable amount of effort of off-site presence from Team Liquid. 2 players downstairs, 1 up top, but well off-site. Nesk was hiding by the default plant spot inside of Aviator, just by that vault door. We'll see what trouble they can get up to as SSG does some discovery work. Still heavy roam here from Liquid.
Yeah, SSG doing the same thing again. So whenever the bomb site is on one area, SSG wants to roam clear from the opposite side. So when it was the AVG bomb site, they went master bedroom. Now it's master bedroom bomb site or trophy bomb site. Now they're going Aviator Gaming side study office. This is basically a typical roam clear over strat where you want to take the map control. And one of the biggest reasons why this makes the most sense is because they're bringing Bosco on the Nomad. The Nomad only really gets fully effective if you end up taking the map control, then you put down the air jabs, and therefore the enemy cannot retake that ground as easily because of that gadget. So basically getting full efficiency out of each and every single operator, and again the room clear is done very quickly here. 1 minute 45, and they're already at that halfway point of 90 top red. Looking pretty good for SSG.
Bosco asserting his influence with that one air jab, still 2 more for him to go. He got blown up by that nitro cell while the plant got down from skies previously, so he could do nothing in the post plant. Very common spots for these nomads are in the nooks and crannies of the stairs leading up to the bomb site, just in case there is a flank that you don't know about. Sometimes teams will tuck somebody down in the basement, and if you don't have the best drone work, even as thorough as you may be, there are things you might miss. Just ask Team 1 about that. So, more grenades from below, primed and ready. SSG have not been successful in finding any targets this way. Ness gets spotted off-site. He was the one who was roaming. He might have been getting back to the bomb site. Not entirely certain where he perished. But to start things off, it's the LMG in the hands of Fultz. That's a lead in terms of numbers for Space Station.
Yeah, the next step for SSG right now is to get those mute jammers off the statue to Master Bedroom wall, so Skies from inside of Master Bedroom can breach it. There's a shield blocking the jammers line of sight, making it more difficult for SSG. They'll have to burn the ADSs and then burn the shield, and then they can start breaching the wall. But Reset down below on that mute does not have a C4, so Skies should be safe inside of Master Bedroom, even though Hot and Cold is also down below and covering it.
Reset's just looking longingly into Memorial, and he'll get away. Hot and Cold doesn't see him. Bosco gunned down. 2 guns from Liquid, in fact, finding their marks, and Hot and Cold spotted by PSK. They're being overwhelmed right now as Ass gets in on it as well. Rampy, a nice nade. He's been the saving grace for this team and the standout performer through this one round. Ready again over to the stairs, but he cooks it just a little bit too much. Damage is done, but Rampy knows that he needs to take these engagements. He has no idea where to go. Doesn't have the diffuser. He'll pick it up and be a sitting duck. Both these players from Liquid will rush on up, and that's an easy kill for Resets to give the round to Liquid.
Yeah, definitely. Once you're planning on that 0-second mark, there's not a whole lot of things you can do. You could argue that Rampy could have let go of the plant button and saved the KD, but to be completely honest, SSG, former world champions, you stick to the fuse because miracles can happen, and sometimes the enemies let it slip, and if that plant had gotten down, Rampy would have been in a passable position for a clutch. Very important, good nade kill actually from Rampy early in the round, even though the Astro Stairs grenade wasn't cooked 100%, the first one was. That basically is 1-1 now in rounds.
I do wonder what the information that SSG is sharing amongst each other with those grenades from below is being based off of, because we saw Rampy twice attempt to pick off one of the common spots, neither nade connected. Was it Bosco did the same thing, or Hot and Cold did the same thing down below with the nades in hand and also was unsuccessful? So not that it's a waste of your gadget, but you only have a finite amount of explosives. With those grenades in hand, either Liquid is playing in unconventional spots, or the information that SSG is relaying to each other based on drones is horrendously out of date. I think you called it fishing in our previous cast, and of course when you're going for nades from below, you are often fishing, hoping that you can hit something from above. There are very common spots when you're playing on AVG. There are very common spots when you're playing on Trophy Statuary. You know where the players sit or deployable shields sit, and sometimes your target might not be a body, it might be a shield, it might be a gadget. In this case, I don't think SSG walked away with anything with those grenades, at least not that we saw. You have to ask yourself why.
Yeah, so something to notice that in the last 3 or 2 months or so, SSG has played Villa 3 times. That's also including the game yesterday against Space, and Liquid has played Villa twice. So both teams have a decent amount of information from VOD studies and whatnot on each other. So maybe those fishing grenades could have been based off assumptions based off that VOD reviewing, or perhaps, as you said, could have been a misdrone or just lack of droning or just guessing or fishing around. We won't know for sure. And that's kind of the name of the game here, is that both Oregon, Chalet, and Villa, these teams will have information on each other, and that's always going to raise the bar a little bit as Foles gets the opening gun to Paolo. He almost dies himself, but those adrenaline surges will keep him nice and healthy as the round progresses.
Last time it was Nesk who hasn't been able to find a single kill. He's still alive, but Paolo also taken down. PSK has been finding the mark the most for his team, but when you think about Team Liquid, it's Paolo and it's Nesk. These are 2 of the best performing players ever in the history of Rainbow Six. When either of them is on the field, you you have some serious concerns, and you can never rest easy taking Paulo out early on and Nesk out in the last round, even though SSG didn't prevail. That's a sigh of relief for the team.
Absolutely, certainly, and I like that we're split in Hot and Cold right now because this is a El Clasico buck pick from Hot and Cold himself. This is an operator that SSG loves to play around. Hot and Cold plays the buck and plays the Ying, and SSG, they love to abuse the fact that he's so good on these operators, and the verticality on this bomb in particular of AVG can be quite useful if utilized correctly as well. Clearing the main stairs, ADSs, shields, and magnets and whatnot will there be. Trying to progress up the main stairs. This is a difficult position to be in, but SSG doing such good work. The flashbang followed by the nade gets the kill. Now they're walking up with two people holding hands in hands, but Rampy finds himself injured on the ground.
Not exactly where you want to be for Rampy. 6-1, now 6-2. He almost saved the round previously, and then the round before, Rampy was the reason for the win. So Space Station will lose one of their potent forces just alongside Liquid, though Ask being down as the smoke is quite crucial, though he isn't known for lighting up the scoreboard the same way most of his teammates are. An advantage for SSG with the final 45 seconds left to play. Nesk is lurking down below, could come to blows with Hot and Cold. I'm not actually sure how close they are to each other. Sorry, silhouettes leading me astray. Nesk is still above, and he's going to be watching over towards Trophy, which is where Fultz will head on through. Look the wrong way, you're going to end up with the ire of Nesk. He gets droned out and runs, seeking some protection over towards 90. There's a hatch for him to drop if he wants it, but not a lot of time here for Space Station. Skies will have to get in and go for the plant. PSK is trapped in between a rock and a hard place, and the rat-a-tat-tat of Fultz's LMG will continue to go on forward. Common spot for Skies. Only thing that can kill him is a toxic canister because there's no nitro cells still up, but of course, Ask dying early means that's not possible. The timer will continue to run in the background. 35 seconds for Ness to retake. 1 for resets. There's still 3 more bodies to go, but he's traded out. So Nesk will be spotted over by Trophy and over by Statuary. Doesn't matter where he is. Fultz started off the round. Fultz ends the round. Liquid do not succeed in the retake, and Space Station regain the lead.
I feel like we're seeing a little bit of uncharacteristic gameplay or decision making from Liquid. Nesk was playing inside of Boar next to 90, and the second Fultz started shooting back at him, he just lagged it all the way back to 90 and played really passive, basically moving back towards the bomb site. And then, well, SSG, they make their way through the bomb site, and then Nesk has to push back where he just left, only to try and retake in like a 2 versus 3. Nesk didn't want confrontation, he didn't want the fight, and you need to start wondering if Nesk is number 2 across the board, and they need to get these picks. Why isn't Nesk the one to take them with confidence? Why are we falling backwards only to go retake a moment later? We need to see Team Liquid start fighting SSG more on these 1v1 gunfights. Otherwise, SSG will just run away with the bomb side.
I like that Nesk is playing offside. I like that he's playing that lurker role, as they call it in Brazil, but he has not been effective through these 3 rounds just yet. And that's okay. Sometimes it takes you a round or 2, maybe even half a matchup before you wake up. We've seen Shaiko in Europe take an entire map to find the scoreboard, to find some type of godly ability that we know that he can do. But then guess what? Maps 2 and 3, that's the beauty of a best of 3. Those become competitive and you can still end up winning even if you sacrifice the very first map. But Palu and Nesk not being top performers on the team is worrisome. Liquid is a very well-rounded roster, but we have to keep our eyes tuned to both Nesk and Palu. If they are unable to win their gunfights, if they are being isolated and hunted down, if the drone and entry play from SSG is strong enough that Nesk and Palu are getting overrun, then Liquid's chances of success plummet.
You know what I love about this lineup from SSG, Parker? Last match we just casted earlier today, we had the matchup that was Team 1 Na'Vi.
Right.
And we had a nuke pick from Neskin on this particular attack, but the pulse was in play. This time around, Team Liquid banned out the pulse. You know what? Fultz goes on to the nuke. But this time on this kitchen bomb site, there's nothing to stop him, right? You only have maybe barbed wire. There's no, well, there's Banshees as well, of course, so Banshees and barbed wire, but there's no actual information to stop Fultz from sneaking around and might get some crazy value.
I feel like we didn't get the best opportunity to see what a Nook can do
No.
for Team 1, so I'm hopeful that we can see it from Fultz. I don't care which team plays the operator. Just
He's across the map. He's all the way at top main. He's going to be flanking in like a minute from now. So meanwhile, SSG are playing these mind games, keeping all of Liquid's attention to one side of the map. Fultz will be flanking them.
Give me the goods. That's all I want, baby. This is a kitchen defense. Don't be fooled by the position of resets. He's guarding upstairs on the triple panel, but that's just because you need to hold that part of the map lest you get overrun. All it takes is a crafty buck or a sledge to get up there, and you are
False is sitting on the pillar. The default camp doesn't see him. He's waiting for the gadget to recharge and push back up. This is super, super smart.
He's got an Aruni gate they'll have to look through. Down goes Rampy to the telltale signs of an MP5, but he's thwarted by a barricade, and he'll look longingly into the bomb site. I feel like, again, this is a missed opportunity. Now Hot and Cold is down, and Fultz is, I don't want to say botching it, but being slow to the punch has not allowed him to exert any real influence over this bomb site. Resets has taken quite a beating, but Fultz might have to break the Aruni gate or get out-dueled by Nesk. We said that he hadn't been all that effective, and guess what? That's a beautiful shot from Nesk to prove to everybody why he's always a threat, even if he doesn't have any kills.
Nesk is online, baby. Also, Fultz typing NS. Nice shot in chat, respecting the fact that he got absolutely dominated, leaving Skies and Bosco both having yet to find a kill, but this might just be the opportunity. Could that be a 2v5 at the very least, statting that KD on the scoreboard? Reset's extremely low on health, so it does make it more possible, but the bomb site being set of Kitchen and SSG not having progressed the map yet just now, it's going to be a little bit tired to find an opening.
Skies and Bosco just creeping through the bottom of the map. I think Skies, with that diffuser in hand, being so far away from the bomb site, knows that it's an unwinnable round. And whether he can accomplish anything over towards Pantry or not, he might just be buying time for his team to discuss things. We call these the in-game unofficial timeouts. Nice shot from Skies, but he'll try to bait a couple more kills to just pad his stats. Other than that, SSG knew after they lose those first 3 players that the round is almost unwinnable. Yeah. It requires a series of unfortunate events for your opponent to commit. Because when you win a clutch, it's not always your own ability. It's often helped by the mistakes of your opponents.
That is typically almost every single clutch, right? Like, sure, I'm sure there are moments where it's just absolute dominance. You are outperforming in every aspect, but I would say majority of the time, a clutch is simply the fact that somebody gave you an opportunity and you took it and succeeded. And that's why, especially in situations like a 1 versus 2 or a 1 versus 3, if you set up the perfect crossfire, it should be impossible for the person that is solo to win that 1 versus 2. But if you don't play the crossfire perfectly and there's going to be gaps, that is exactly when you make the mistake and allow for the gap and possibility of a clutch. Yes, the opponent has to hit his shot, he has to play it well, but that only is enabled by the fact that you messed up in the first place. So, playing it smart and playing it safe when the time needs you to is extremely important, and is often one of the clear tell signs of like a weaker, less experienced team versus veterans is the ability to play those 1v2s the right way.
I feel like of all the matches that we've seen so far at this event, not many teams are committing those mistakes though. The amount of patience that we see is exemplary. Teams holding angles, exactly. Very disciplined, very patient. Standing next to hard walls, standing next to reinforcements, not giving an inch, knowing that if somebody charges in, even if they beat you, the other 2 players on your team or the other player on your team who might still be alive in that clutch scenario is nowhere near the action. And even like we saw all the way back with Liquid's very first round win on round 2, Liquid played it quite patiently and didn't necessarily give themselves away to Rampy. They forced Rampy to take the engagements. When that was not possible, Rampy went and planted. And either way, the patience and the discipline from Liquid was enough for them not to get greedy, not to get kill hungry, and win the round. Because as much as your own personal stats might be nice, you know what's nice? Winning the Six Invitational.
Winning is nicer, yeah. I fully agree. We're seeing SSG now approaching their second attack onto Trophy, and they're doing it differently. They've yet to attack the same way twice, which speaks to SSG's dynamic and deep strategy book. Falls, Rampy, all these players in SSG, they love the grenades, bouncing them off the walls, doing damage onto resets, but not finding a kill just yet.
2 grenades will take away 1/5 of his HP. He's got the shotgun out, and he'll be flashed this time. He's still under drone, by the way. PSK taken out by a nice nade from Rampy, who's just in the middle of the bomb site. Rampy splitting his way on in. All right. They need to try their best to get this diffuser planted. And sorry, it's not the bomb site again. The bomb site is upstairs, but Liquid are holding the downstairs as if it were the bomb site.
Yes.
They have to translate it to Trophy Statuary.
Yeah, there was an extension from Trophy to down below, basically, making it look like an imposter, if you will, right?
The inverse.
Yeah, the inverse. And sometimes if you're really quick about it, you can fake out your opponent as well, because if you all run downstairs and start reinforcing kitchen, and they're droning like, oh guys, it's the basement's in kitchen, but then you realize, joke's on you, you got faked out, we're up in Trophy Statue.
So those 3 players from Liquid who are down for the count, it's considered a flawless round that we just saw previously, even though Skies didn't die. It was almost considered a flawless round. Skies got 1 kill right at the very end, but here's Nesk. Online, as you spoke of, 2 kills in the previous round, 1 to his name at this moment. And there's a minute to go. So he can accomplish an awful lot more. Explosion of fire not too far off. That's the Goyo shield that's down for the count. And while Nesk will hold down the fort, Paulo is flanking up.
Notice how the second Nesk got the kill, SSG like stood still. They did not want to feed any more people into this gun barrel from Nesk, and Nesk is getting active now. He's playing aggressive like we spoke of earlier, trying to find those 1v1s that he's so good at winning.
SSG have been unable to get the mute jammer off of the wall, so clear passage in the bomb site not granted. Nesk peeks the wrong way, Skies sees him, punishes him for that. Palu, last man standing from Liquid. Watching Astronomy. 3 silhouettes lined up. He'll have to control the recoil, but he can't even do that. He gets smoked by Bosco. And so far, these teams have been unable to win rounds back-to-back. No consecutive round victories. SSG regains the lead again. It's 3-2, and it looks strikingly similar to matchups we've seen before, where these teams will go into the bitter end tied up. This is the final round for Liquid on defense on a map like Villa. Liquid, we're hoping for more, 3 to 4 rounds minimum. They're going to hit 3 at absolute best, but SSG, I would argue, overperforming attack on Villa based on these operator bans, based on the way these teams play. And it could just be that Liquid need to wake up, but they seem like they're waking up. Even if they don't win that round, they have been playing more robust Rainbow Six recently.
Hot and Cold just 6-picked Monty, which is absolutely phenomenal in one way and absolutely confusing in the second way. I mean, I thought SSG's stratbooks went deep, but this is ridiculous almost, and I'm so much here to see it. Speaking of last round, Rambi has been the performer so far. Full second person, Sky did a great job handling the diffuser multiple times, but Rambi getting opening kill after opening kill, and yes, the rounds have gone back and forth, 1 to SSG, 1 to Liquid, etc. But out of these first 5 rounds, SSG has 4 of the opening kills. And I think that speaks more to the fact than just the rounds going a certain way. Even though SSG are losing certain rounds, they are still managing to get the opening kill time and time again.
Well, don't be fooled again. Liquid like these off-site extensions. They are reinforcing and working to set up a round trophy statuary, but it is an Aviator in Games defense. Again, the 3rd attempt from Team Liquid. This is the one bomb site that has eluded them. They won Trophy once. They won Kitchen once. Kitchen is currently locked. Trophy, they just lost. They're not going to go back there again. Instead, they could have gone to Living Room and Library down below, but that's unlikely because Aviator Games is open again. Liquid 0-2 on this bomb site, and they're going to have to deal with a Montaigne now for this 3rd and fateful defense. SSG are aware of the setup that Liquid has off-site. This is very similar to the previous defense of AVG. And Hot and Cold taking up space inside of Astro. He sees the Mira, trying to bait in, but it's Palu instead to bait him. The Monty will not be particularly successful, gains intel, but the first kill going to Liquid, traded swiftly back by an explosive of their own. Fultz enabling the rest of the team with a kill onto resets. That's the Mira down, and they'll have to deal with Nesk next.
Quite well read from Paulo, so SSG's attacked a different way every single time, but these nades are so lethal. Yes, I didn't get the kill, but it forced Nest into the other side of Fultz, who got an absolute freebie because of that.
And it's Nesk, by the way, to falter as well. Palu starting things off, we talk about this terrible twosome, and Palu's got some heavy lifting to be done. Well off site, he'll just ascend the main stairs before thinking otherwise, going down the hallway towards red stairs and up to classical hallway. As by 90, look at this destruction work. Part of the hallmark of classic Siege. Bullets whizzing just by his head on that barricade, and he's on the ground yet again. Still steering in the same direction. If he doesn't hit that first shot or 2 of the SMG-11, the recoil will likely sail over his head, and he'll be punished for that, especially since his head is the thing that will first be shown.
I think it's worth noting that while Liquid are in a man disadvantage, they did actually take out the main strategy part of SSG's lineup. That was Hot and Cold on the Monty. He's now on drone duty as that's all he can do. And this basically means that SSG came in with a plan. It involved the Monty, but it's off the board now. So now we're freestyling, trying to clear out the jammer inside of Vault. Good job for them. I hope Skies will beat next. But then now we're going to have to see one player from SSG rotate to that study balcony. It looks to be Bosco from that outline. Vault wall will be reached as well. This is a great step for SSG, getting aggro on both sides, but they gotta find the kills, and Bosco just does that. That's Paolo off the board again.
Rampy down by the shotgun of Ask, trying to burst into the bomb site, but Fultz is on a tear. 3 kills to his name in this round. PSK knocked Ass over Tea Kettle, and while he's up and frying, Skies is getting the diffuser down. Half HP for PSK. Walking now towards Vault, nobody to be seen. Bullets again over his head, beautiful shot onto Fultz. 3 kills is all Fultz will be able to get. Using the soft destruction, PSK scouts the area. Timer continuing to tick down, 35 seconds for Space Station. PSK regrouping. Maybe some calls from the rest of his teammates, but great patience, as we talked about, discipline from Space Station, not giving an inch. They've got 20 seconds until things hit the point of no return, so you'll have to get in. And there's the Nomad to do that, try and distract away. PSK's attention is over towards Study, but he gets out-dueled by Bosco, and even if the Montaigne isn't particularly pivotal, SSG's strat seems quite sound. And through that first half, SSG emerges with a 4-2 lead.
As I said, absolutely phenomenal, beautiful 1 versus 2 played from SSG. Even if Bosco had lost that 1 versus 1 gunfight inside of study office, it wouldn't really have mattered. There was about 15 seconds or so left, which basically means that your last remaining player of Skies will basically win out the round guaranteed, or at the very least has an extremely high chance of success. Lycan, the coach of SSG, has really drilled into these guys how to play proper Rainbow Six Siege, and they've been dominating in the NAL in recent history. Maybe not at NAL Finals itself, but during Stage 2 and Stage 3, they were the kings of North America.
Well, I mean, this SSG team does well domestically, but internationally, you have to look at what success they have. Hot and Cold was the MVP of the NAL last season, but he hasn't really performed in either Mexico or Sweden. In fact, his stats in both of those events were quite middling. Rampy had oftentimes the best stats on his team and enters the event as the highest international performer over the last year for Space Station. Similar, by the way, to BDS. BDS beats up all of Europe, but their ceiling seems to be the semifinals of major events. Not that that's anything to turn up your nose at. Every team would love to make it to a semifinal of a major, but with a team like BDS, with the pedigree that they have and the expectations that they have, anything less than a win is often falling short. I know that Space Station sees themselves that same way, so finally winning a best of 3 internationally. They did it yesterday against FaZe. A lot of people consider that an upset. This is the start that SSG needs to come back into it, especially with how many teams rank Team Liquid as one of the favorites to win all of SI 2022. That said, first half in the books, we're going into the very first round of Team Liquid on attack, SSG on defense. So the ball is in the court of Team Liquid to get the diffuser planted. As for SSG, you just need to ride out these rounds. The clock will be your best friend.
Absolutely, and we see SSG, they have a pretty clear-cut plan. They're holding that 90 red stairs area. Meanwhile, Liquid, of course, doing the same thing as SSG, going for that sweep over roam clear, and they actually brought out the Jackal to try and find some freebies from SSG, but besides Hot and Cold, who's down in the basement, all of SSG are playing pretty tight together. I don't think Paolo's going to get incredible value out of the gadget so far, and SSG playing a good round of Rainbow Six Siege right now.
Fultz on those red stairs, just sitting and waiting. The barbed wire right in front of him. His aim has been spectacular so far today. Both Rampy and Fultz are the 2 usual main entry points for Space Station. Hot and Cold can fulfill that role as well. It really depends on the strategy. There's fluidity on Liquid and there's fluidity on SSG when it comes to these roles. Sometimes you might have Nesk anchoring, sometimes you might have him supporting, other times he can be your primary entry. It really depends on the map. The fact that Fultz and Rampy are showing up is enormous, but so is Liquid, by the way, and Ask has been the standout performer for his team. 2 more kills added to his tally. He picks apart Bosco and Fultz. SSG, with half of the round to go, find themselves losing utility and also down 2 players.
Yeah, remember they figured out that Goyo was down below and they read the situation quite well. Paolo gets a freebie. That was a scan that paid off earlier, knowing he was down in the basement. And now with a minute left, it's a 2 versus 5, and SSG are nowhere in a position to really play for picks as they're both deep on side.
Bad start for Hot and Cold. I don't know if he died with a potential C4 in hand. That leaves Rampy and Skies, but just Rampy. Nesk is on a tear. A big kill from him. No staying potential with the smoke gone and a nade tossed in. You didn't even see it. It was from underneath. SSG weren't able to hit these, but Liquid clearly can, and they're making up for lost time. Their very first attacking round goes into the win column for Liquid.
I might have seen it correctly, but I think the last player from SSG was like pulling out an impact grenade at the same second as the grenade blew up, and I thought he somehow managed to impact grenade himself from 100 to 0, but it was in fact a nade from Liquid from down below. Flawless round to open it up. Pretty well done. Resets that double kill opening. Paolo actually was walking around most of that map trying to figure out, is there a guy in the basement? And they managed to find the footsteps of Hot and Cold inside of that shoe room or bike room. It has a couple different callouts, and that basically gave them the confirmation that yes, there is indeed a guy in the basement, and he has to come up one of 3 staircases. Paolo guessed 1 in 3rd chance. He got the right one, and yeah, free kill.
Not that we want you to turn off of this stream, but we do always have to remind people that there is a second stream currently ongoing. Go on over to twitch.tv/Rainbow6Bravo. That's the same URL that you're on right now. Just add BRAVO. That's it. It's that simple.
That's easy.
Just add that. And what will you see? You'll see the Japanese team of Cyclops going up against the European team of Rogue, that mixed European team, by the way. I believe they're predominantly German right now, but still, they play under the European Union flag, or the EU flag, depending on whether you want to shorten it or not. You can watch both of them at the same time. That's Fluke and XR Troika casting on the other stream if you want to go over there and hear their dulcet tones.
Absolutely. If you guys want to, you should watch both at the same time, but I also understand that can be a lot of seats, so pick and choose what matchup you like.
I'm sorry, but this is a better match, so I would encourage you to stay here. I would encourage you to stay here.
You're just saying that because you're here casting it, Parker. That's bias.
That is not bias. I happen to think that this is a more exciting matchup. You've got what many consider to be 2 tournament favorites, providing SSG shows up the way they have before. And this is a barn burner of a matchup. We're only on Villa. There's still 2 more maps to go. Oregon and potentially Chalet await us.
I was going to say the B stream has Cyclops. That's all I'm going to say.
That's true.
Rambi, lurking down below, has backup from Fultz, of course, but keep in mind, they're not that far off the side just yet. They're actually pretty close, but SSG trying to contest the area right now, making sure that Liquid doesn't get too much space for free. It is a kitchen dining bomb, so Apollo once again on this Jackal is going to make the roaming life of SSG a nightmare, as those feet will be sniffed out. Rambi drops down below and says, yep, they figured it out. I don't want to be here anymore. I'm going to dip.
What can I do to make you never talk about Jackal as a foot sniffer again? I'll do anything.
Anything?
Literally name your price.
I will think of something very lucrative for myself, and then I'll present that to you.
Please let me know. I wanna just do away with that forever. The pulse ban, by the way, targeting Rampy predominantly on Space Station. He's lurking down below. He's on that Jaeger roll. Not able to have the same information, not able to have the same intel, but if he wants to play in the basement, he can very easily get back using the pantry stairs. Liquid will circle the wagons, getting very close to an engagement. Almost knocking at the door of Kitchen, but a smoke's going to get tossed out and resets. Collapsed upon, finished off by the toxic canister of Hot and Cold. A bit of an unconventional setup with that deployable shield at the bottom of Astro Stairs. Palu is next, and he knows exactly where the smoke is. Ask continuing his reign of terror. Another kill for him, this time on Nabosco. The teams will remain at 4 apiece.
It's a little bit awkward positioning we got right now. Remember, Hot and Cold doesn't have just the SMG-11. He actually has the FMG because Fultz is running out that shotgun. 1C4 in the pocket of Fultz as well means that vertical damage can be done. And right now, all the players are upstairs except for Palu, who's inside of jungle, who could strike at any moment. But SSG are holding all the injury points for the bomb site, ensuring that nobody creeps in without being noticed.
Close range for Space Station, 20 seconds left to go into the round, that's it. Jiggle peeking through the door, Ask is in the middle of the bomb site, picked apart by Skies, hugging this bomb chassis. Alda in hand means he's got tons of munition for Nesk. Nesk is next, by the way, as Palu trades off. The shotgun from Fultz as he retakes the site. Nesk ever so formidable, but 2 more to go in 3 seconds. Seems unthinkable unless they give themselves away. No, still, Nesk will survive, but the clock gives Space Station the round. And if you continue this pendulum, both swinging in SSG's favor, then back to Liquid, SSG will end up winning this matchup as they take their 5th round to 3 for Liquid.
I just want to talk about it one more time. In the second that became a 2 versus 1 for SSG, they stopped peeking. They just sat on that hardball, waited like 2 seconds. When the timer was 1 second left, started jiggling for the KD, but there was no way for Team Liquid to somehow get both of those kills. And again, the discipline, making sure that the 3 rounds that you've already won goes all the way home inside your backpack and you don't somehow lose it on the way there. Beautifully done, beautifully played, and of course, playing Smoke FMG9 is not a bad one either. We love to see that roaming smoke kind of gameplay. And the FMG, not a bad gun at all. It actually has one of the highest DPS, so damage per second stats of any weapon in the game, or at the very least on the defensive side. So, if anything, quite an underrated gun. Tactical pause from the side of Team Liquid. They are going to be talking about what is to come next. Remember, you have 1 tactical timeout per map, so you have 3 across this best of 3, and that is 3 for each team, of course. While Liquid has their timeout, SSG and their coach of Lycan can also talk amongst each other and figure out what their next plan is. But of course, seeing as Liquid took this timeout, they probably have something more direct in mind that they specifically want to target. And seeing as they just lost that round and they are currently at a 5-3 scoreline, they're the ones that want to bring it back, because right now SSG is in the lead.
Well, SSG did play this map yesterday against FaZe Clan, and it wasn't an easy do for them. 8-7, but Spacestation still overcame the defending major champions of FaZe Clan. Up next, no matter what happens here on Villa, whether Spacestation walks away up 1-0 or Team Liquid gets the upper hand, Oregon, picked by Team Liquid. Played yesterday, by the way, against Rogue. Team Liquid prevailed 7-4. We'd like to remind you that Rogue is in action against Cyclops on the other stream occurring right now, twitch.tv/Rainbow6, if you'd like to go over there and watch it, or run both of them at the same time.
You just said twitch.tv/Rainbow6. You did not say Bravo.
Rainbow Six Bravo.
There it is. Rainbow Six Bravo. There is the
maybe.
B-R-A-V-O
Did you ever consider
part.
you that I maybe said that where they'll go, okay, twitch.tv/Rainbow6. Okay, as we
put it
close this, go up top, twitch.tv/Rainbow6, and guess where it brings you?
It's like they're back here.
Right back here to me. So, haha, I fooled you. But
duplicating viewership, that's what Parker's doing right now. Making 1 viewer into 2 essentially for a short moment as that webpage loads through. Now, Liquid, Nesk, 6 picked the Amaru, so I do think that timeout had a specific target in mind. That is the strategical approach to the round, but I think joke's on you, Liquid, because SSG has brought this to living room library bomb site. I don't think that's what the Amaru was meant for. I don't think that was the intended target purpose, but either way, we got it, and at the worst case, Nesk gets on a great gun in that G8.
I feel like we've tried to see Amaru at this level, and it just doesn't work out. If somebody is going to be able to make it happen, it's Nesk. So, what do you accomplish? The telltale signs of the G8. It's a very distinct sound is made. If SSG have keen ears, if this wasn't a 6-pick, then they know that there is an Amaru coming. Unless they just think there's an IQ on the board, which would be very odd.
Very unlikely. We don't even see IQ open, even when Valkyrie's on the board, and we certainly won't see it with Valkyrie banned off. Also, with the post being gone, that leaves only really Echo for IQ to chase, and yeah, it's just not worth it.
I wonder if this site selection will hinder them at all. I don't know if they're expecting us to be downstairs on this bomb site, but
I think so.
Hey, I mean, you got to go for it at some point, right?
Yeah.
Very easy to just go back to AVG or even to Trophy Statuary, but no, a living room library setup is the NA special that Liquid might not be expecting.
Yeah, and it's something that we don't see very often, and of course at this level of play and with these teams in particular, they're aware of how to attack every single bomb site, but that doesn't mean you're equally good at attacking every single bomb site. There are some you're gonna be proficient at, some that you're not, and here Nesk is trying to see what can make work. D8 goes through, headshot onto Hot and Cold, opening frag for Team Liquid, and a second one.
I'm sorry, Fultz was expecting a push from Study, but Nesk's position was known in the engagement against Hot and Cold, so it seems like the call was not made, or Fultz was expecting the swing first, because all he needed to do was pivot and look towards the top of Classical, and he's got a potential pick onto Nesk. Nesk's sitting right now at about 1/3 of his HP. That's not ideal, but Skies grabs Palu, and he's retaken the position that Liquid thought they'd cleared out earlier on, just behind Bar. Nesk waiting, still in this spot. trying to play off of pings that the rest of his teammate is giving. Resets is not too far away, down by 90, but Skies is still tricky, hidden behind this bar inside of games. Does he know that Nesk is watching this angle? If he crosses the doorway looking the wrong way, Nesk will capitalize, but there are few people who can outduel Nesk. Skies tends to be one of them. Rotero drone goes in, flushes out Skies, resets, capitalizes on the kill. Liquid up in a 3v2 with 30 seconds left to play in this round. Rampy equalizes, making it a 2v2, case down. Call going out to Bosco. One Toxic Babe still left, and he's got the shotgun to do maximum damage. The scramble from Liquid is they will head into the bomb site, but they have to grab access to the diffuser, lest they just go for kills. PSK downing Bosco and finishing him off means Rampy in a clutch position. He can put his team right now on match point. He's got the entry, swings away, but Resets is prepared for it. The timeout works. The unconventional for SSG is unsuccessful, and Liquid close the gap by 1 round.
What a round! It starts off with Nesk getting 2 opening kills, and then Skies traded back shortly after, taking down both Paolo and Nesk shortly after. It's a little bit of a shame they had no idea that Skies was nearby them, because Paolo's on the Jackal. He could activate the gadget and see there are still some feet on the ground that I have yet to scan, and therefore there's still somebody nearby. And they didn't. So Skies prevailed. He hid behind the bar. He bid his time, got 1 kill, then waited quite a while, won the gunfight against Nesk, and that kind of showed the time there. Somehow, someway, even with Rampy finding the diffuser as well, Liquid, they still came out on top what looked to be an SSG round.
I mean, there have been a couple rounds here where the unthinkable has happened.
Yeah.
And teams will walk away with victories that leave us puzzled. Back to AVG. SSG is going to go now, and if we want to talk about the previous impact they had, or rather defending AVG, SSG is going to go upstairs to Trophy Statuary, but back to defending AVG. This is a bomb site that they lost out on flawlessly to Team Liquid, so I do not suspect they're going to go there anytime soon. Kitchen was the only bomb site that that SSG prevailed on, and it reopens after this round. As we see with all of Villa, you usually want to hold the same 3 spots on the map depending on where you're defending. Whether you want to hold Study, whether you want to hold AVG, whether you want to hold Trophy Statuary if you're playing in Kitchen, or if you want to hold Trophy and Statuary, either way. In this particular instance, it's a 4th bomb site now for SSG. We'll see what they can do with it. They desperately want this match point, but they have to work for it. Liquid seemed to settle in after that timeout, and we're prepared for Space Station, despite, like I said, that unconventional bomb site that could have very easily tripped up Liquid.
Yeah, as you see, getting that bingo card all filled out as they approach every single bomb site, and on their attacking side, had 6 different versions of attacks for the various bombs that Liquid presented themselves. So basically, having a different approach each and every round. That is very hard to adapt against if you're Team Liquid. Rampy doing a good job extending out on the map, making sure that everything isn't clear for Liquid, and if he finds any drones, of course, he can take those out as well. Mind you, Bosco is on the mirror, so there will be those mirror windows for Liquid to deal with. They don't have a Thatcher on the board, but of course, they did bring the Hibana.
I like Rampy on this Legion as well. He can take up space down below, up top, leave a trail of poisonous breadcrumbs in his wake, which will allow him to get information and also just be a general annoyance to slow down Team Liquid. If you fear that your opponent are being a little bit too quick to the punch, then bringing operators like Frost, like Capkin, like Legion, like Malusi, those are the ones that you want to bring in because they will do exactly what you ask. Slow them down.
I was really confused about what I just saw there. I thought there was a triple reinforced wall. So when he started wallbanging the pillars, I was like, wait, how is he doing that? Like, where's he shooting them from? But it's a double reinforced wall. The 3rd one is soft. That is typically what you do if you slap the mirror window on there. Of course, the wall has not been dealt with.
Oh, no.
Nesk finds Bosco. It's not the smoke off the board. Remember, SSG had a roll swap, but Paolo continues the trend.
Unbelievable play by Liquid, well coordinated, and again, SSG almost seeming like NPCs when Liquid walks on in, taking advantage of them, and okay, you blink, and it's gone. This has to prompt a Space Station timeout, as Liquid have now taken 3 of the last 4 rounds, 2 of them flawlessly. They are in full command, and no, Space Station are not going to take their timeout. They're going to suffer through this. Team Liquid tied up with just a miraculous performance. What on earth happened to Space Station in that previous round?
I'm actually surprised, just like you are, that no tactical timer was taken, because I feel like this might be their prime opportunity. In the last 4 rounds, Liquid had the opening kill 3 of those. In the last 4 rounds, Liquid has won 3 of those, and 2 of them flawless, as you mentioned. Yet, we're just gonna go in one more time, back to AVG for SSG. Again, their strat put rungs deep. I'm sure they have many more options to go through before they're going to be exhausting their options, but I still need to question, why not take the timeout now before we get onto match point, unless of course you believe the match point goes to you. Either way, this is what it comes down to. SSG needs this round, but so does Liquid so much equally. The same lineup being brought out from Liquid, not much changing. It's the Rotero Jones on the floor sometimes it's not. Paolo bringing the Jackal each and every single round, and Nesk now on the board with 10 kills, really getting activated on that entry and being extremely lethal as we thought he would be.
Nesk had 3 kills, I believe, in round 5. So since then, boy oh boy, he has put on an absolute clinic, and that's what I said. Even if he has 0 kills, you cannot count out Nesk, not one bit. And he has now seized the lead from his team, tying Rampy's total. Rampy going quiet is a problem, because Bosco and Hot and Cold are not having particularly good matches thus far on their roles. And despite the fact that Bosco in particular is a historically good Villa player, well, a 3-8 scoreline puts him towards the bottom, in fact, the actual bottom of the lobby. He'll be frustrated with the performance that he's putting in. Meanwhile, the story for this half has been the dominance of Liquid. This is an attacker-sided Villa and is certainly shaping up to go in Liquid's favor, despite the fact that SSG took a 4-2 lead on that first half.
Yeah, and I think this might also be the case why Paolo keeps bringing the Jackal here. You can kind of target the quote-unquote star players or key players of SSG and really shut them down. If Rambi is getting spotted or scanned every single round, his life becomes so much harder. But Hot and Cold said, Liquid, your life will be harder for this match point round, as he finds the only hard breach from Liquid, but Nesk is there to trade it back.
But look who it is. Speak of the devil, and the devil shall appear. Nesk finishing off Fultz. Only Rampy stands above him in terms of fragging potential. Getting Ask off the board is actually huge, because you've removed the only hard breacher, making your job as an attacking team so much more difficult on a bomb site that really does rely on your ability to poke holes in those reinforcements. Whether you want to apply some pressure to the defenders through that vault wall, whether you want to take some of their map control away towards maps inside of Aviator or in games through that study wall, you can do that. That option for Liquid is no longer there, but if there is a team that can bulldoze their way through, just take raw aggression into their own hands and kill their opponents without a hard breach, it's Team Liquid.
Yeah, and you see the second SSG got that kill, they all fall back to side. I think for Liquid, they would need a nade kill, some verticality, or at the very least... Oh.
What did you say?
I said a nade kill. That's not a kill part, that's an injury. It doesn't count because the kill has not been secured just yet, and Hot and Cold will crawl away and likely be rescued by his teammates.
Good news is that Hot and Cold was at the same HP, by the way, before the nade downed him, but you have to take advantage of the damage that you've done. Another nade primed and ready with the mirror window being spotted. Assuming that somebody's playing off of it, it'll blow up, but at very minimum, they should be able to get the panel, allowing a window into the bomb site. Smoke's going off. It'll obscure the vision of Space Station as Nesk walks in. He's got killing potential, but he's also got that diffuser in hand, and he watches a Nitro cell get chucked over his head. By the model, he'll go for a plant, but Bosco's doing his best. He guns down Palu, trying to take back control of Study. Nesk is exposed in that angle, but he's going to see him, and Nesk just sprints right in and takes him down. 2 kills for Nesk, while also getting the diffuser planted. He cannot outduel Hot and Cold as he peeks around the door frame. Hot and Cold stands steady, resolute, inside of the middle of the bomb site. Waiting to see what the smoke can do as resets. He's going to take some damage and breathe in that toxic canister as he backs up. On the diffuser is Hot and Cold. Liquid need to be quick. They don't have the intel that Hot and Cold is on it, and his team buys enough time. The disable comes in, and it's match point for Space Station.
Space Station stole the round, but looked like it was Liquid's. They were all so low on health, all sub 50, below that halfway point, and it looked so good for Liquid for a brief moment. They managed to get through that door, somehow duke the C4, not die to the toxic babes. Skies did have one more babe remaining, and honestly, you can think, Skies, why didn't you use that toxic babe for the planter? Well, I don't think they knew Nesk was that deep into site and actually planting, and after that fact, the toxic babe arguably saved the round and allowed SSG to defuse while covering as well. Oh my. SSG has made it to match point now. Now Liquid has to tie it up to go into OT or lose the first match in regulation. And on this very, very final round, before OT at least, Ask is 6-picking the Dokkaebi. That is the second time that I have seen that operator at the Six Invitationals. The last time around, it worked quite well. So, what this kind of plays into is, again, the roam clear. We are in this library bomb site from SSG. We got both the Palo on the Jackal, now the Dokkaebi on Ask, so you have so many different ways to pick this apart. And the last time library bomb site was seen, it was won by Team Liquid, which means SSG has yet to win this bomb site, but they want to prove a point that they can do that.
Awaiting us is Oregon. Again, we will get there no matter what. Space Station needed overtime to seal the deal against FaZe Clan. A victory in more certain terms over a team like Liquid means that Space Station will be in better position to say, well, you know, FaZe is a better team. Liquid is a little bit weaker. Well, we'll see. It really depends on how comfortable Liquid is on this map. Liquid have a robust map pool as they are a very experienced team. There's no real weaknesses for teams to exploit in terms of a map ban phase. And of course, these maps are quite spicy, as you said on the walk on over here when we got access to the map bans. We'll see what happens. 30 seconds into this round, Space Station on match point for those of you that don't have a visual reference. And look at where that bomb site is. Isn't it glorious?
Glorious, you can arguably call it. I think it's kind of whack. Personally, I never liked defending it when I was a player, and I don't really necessarily like attacking it either. But either way, I think the opening kill is going to have a huge factor on the possible outcome of this round in particular, because Library is a more movement-based and lethal kind of bomb site. It's not as strat-dependent as AVG or Trophy is, where there's multiple ways to deny the plant and whatnot, because there are so many different plant opportunities and plant spots on this particular bomb site with so much cover for the attackers once you get in. So having man advantage and having more guns than your opponent is a great way to ensure you have the highest odds in your favor. So the opening kill going to matter quite a lot here.
It's a calm before the storm as we tend to see games tighten up and things get very close. Teams will be quite patient. Disciplined being the word. Rotero drone going towards Rampy, but he's not baited into it. Ness gets the first kill. It's on the skies. The second one looked lined up for Rampy, but this is an absolute clinic that Nesk was putting on, and now the rest of Liquid are doing the same. But Hot and Cold tears through Nesk, the best player in the lobby, sat down for the remainder of this round. Because it is living room library, clearing out study above is nice, but it is not as integral to the execute as it could be on other certain bomb sites. Liquid need to take the success that they have, the numbers advantage, by killing both Skies and Rampy, and then turning that towards a successful execute. Hot and Cold is still upstairs, by the way, off on his own before he just died. As I was saying his name, Ask killed him. That means that Fultz, who's off site, will have to get back on in. It's Bosco alone against the world in the middle of living room, and 4 players from Liquid will be hunting him down. Good news for Bosco. 30 seconds left. You've got decently good weaponry, and you've also got access to 3 toxic canisters. Logic Bomb comes in. It's the last one from Ask. Fultz and Bosco both very restless. They don't know where this is going to come from. They need to be primed and ready, no matter the position. 20 seconds. Liquid taking their time, hopping on in. They see him. Oh no, Fultz, you're looking the wrong way. Bosco with 1, but he walks right into Palu. And Liquid's attacks are terrifying, Nick. We're going overtime between these two teams, and Liquid's half taking 4 rounds 2 of them flawlessly, diffuser planted, opening picks in spades. What a triumphant 4 rounds they had in all those victories.
That they did indeed. The one thing though I will say is that SSG, they're familiar with this territory. They went 8-7 on Villa against FaZe last night. So if anything, this is just them repeating that same situation. I think the nerves and the pressure is still arguably on Team Liquid. They have not found themselves the back against the wall. That is 7-4 victory against Rogue. That was on Oregon and then it was on Cafe. So if anything, Team Liquid now to show that their OT gameplay is just as good as their regulation round gameplay. And some viewers at home might be thinking, but OT is the same thing, just at a higher number of rounds. It's 6-6 instead of 5-5. And that's true. Except that it's also not true at the same time. Because when you go into OT, it's much more do or die. And this is kind of where you gotta start changing things up, because you're only gonna get to OT if what you've been doing hasn't been working continuously. And look at this lineup from SSG right now. They're going back to kitchen. Remember, the pulse is off the board. The regular way of playing this bomb site is completely thrown out the window. So they bring out the Vigil and the Muzzy with the mirror extension up above. Everyone is playing aggressive operators except for Foles, who's on this shotgun and SMG-11. Bosco himself got the MP5 from Melusi, and SSG clearly wants blood, and they clearly want a map contest, seeing as their information game has been ruined by the specific target ban of Team Liquid.
Oh, I mean, well-played bans for Liquid.
Yeah.
Banning the Thatcher is pretty standard stuff. The Twitch ban from SSG obviously trying to target Team Liquid, but guess what? That Twitch ban did not slow Liquid down whatsoever on attack. They brought a Jackal. They had Nesk playing on that 6 pick. Whether he wanted to be on Amaru, whether he wanted to play on Yana, it doesn't matter. That's exactly the level of flexibility from Team Liquid, and Finka has been a staple as well. I especially like the Dokkaebi being brought by Liquid as the pocket pick on the previous map, or in the previous round. It's nice to see Dokkaebi played now and again. Maybe not always.
Not always, but every now and again,
every now and then I'll take
the flex operators, right? Just like Hot and Cold and SSG, they brought out the Munty for that one round, and sure enough, got C4'd by Paolo. It didn't really work whatsoever, but seeing the one-off strats that teams are bringing, just like Nesk brought out the Amaru, which didn't really do a whole lot of Amaru stuff, but he got 2 kills, that's cool. I love to watch it. As a caster, as a spectator, as a player, flexibility is my favorite thing, and niche picks is my favorite thing.
Niche picks is a good way of putting it. Amonte can be seen as a niche pick now as well, and I think Amaru or Amaru also fits that definition. So Finka used to be a niche pick, but she's become a staple of the meta. The drop in pick rate for Zofia has definitely imbued players with a sense of duty towards Finka. That said, the previous round was uncharacteristically slow. This one is shaping up to be the same, but things can change in the blink of an eye. Liquid did just that a couple rounds previously, where things were working out quite slow, very sluggish, and then everybody was dead, and Liquid had a flawless win within the span of 10 seconds.
Yeah, once these teams, they start going, it goes really, really fast. I mean, so many players from SSG being up above, it just means that once one player falls, a second one can follow, or a second one can try and contest. Liquid, they haven't shown their true colors yet, because they haven't signified to us, or to themselves, or to SSG, how they exactly intend to attack right now. They're spread across the map, trying to find a way in. They started up top in Study, now working their way below for Pantry Window, Laundry Door, Paolo down in the basement as well. So it seems to be a horizontal attack, ignoring the verticality of SSG, and it might pay out in their favor, but at the same time, it seems like SSG is so ready for this. Look at this as Paolo creeps up the staircase.
He'll see the Melusi. Bosco takes the fight to him, but Palu is so hard to beat. Bosco will be frustrated with that. Bosco struggling to buy a kill in this particular matchup. We'll see if his stats improve throughout overtime and into map number 2. Either way, Space Station trails, and Hot and Cold is the next one in the line of fire. 15 seconds left. You'd think there was plenty of time to go, but it doesn't favor Liquid at all. Despite that, they're still making it their own. Rampy's trying to catch them off guard on a flank. He capitalizes. 2 big kills for him. He needs to play keep away with resets down and vulnerable. He can't beat Nesk. Who can? And suddenly, Space Station on match point, but now in overtime. It's Liquid's matchup to lose. One more round to go for them to put this map away.
Rambi really looked like he might just steal the round away there from Liquid, but Nesk played the off angle, tucked in the laundry wall corner. It didn't get cleared and checked by Rambi, and it cost him his life, and therefore cost him the round. The flanker got flanked as Rambi made his way through the basement, and it was such a nice try. I was planning on the very last second there as well, and that 2:01 second left. Very, very close call for Liquid. They took every single second that they could afford, and just that. Then they started planting. Of course, the round went their way. Now we see the side swap come out as we are in the second round of OT. Liquid will now be on the defense, and Nesk will 6-pick from the mirror onto the Aruni. SSG yet to take a timeout, I believe, which means they might go the entire distance, or perhaps, and maybe they want to win this round, go 7-7, take the timeout, do some crazy shenanigans during that tactical timeout, and just hit the round swinging on that very final one. That is how they took out FaZe. Not with a timeout specifically, but that 8-7 scoreline.
Well, I don't know why they're not taking a timeout, and this is something that I think needs to be asked of them. Are they confident now on attack that SSG will prevail? This has been an attacker-sided Villa. I'd like to remind everybody right now of that fact. There have only been 4 rounds of the 13 rounds played thus far where the defense have won. That's 9 for the attackers.
That is something that we don't see very, very often. I was talking to Dev, actually, in the caster room, and we spoke about how maps like Cafe are extremely attacker-sided right now. But fun fact, if I don't remember incorrectly, Villa is the most... oh my god, I can't remember. Either way, Villa is like really heavily favored on one side, and normally it's defender-sided, but I feel like for some reason, right now in this meta, it's attacker-sided. I believe it was the same story yesterday in the FaZe SSG game where attackers are just winning too many rounds compared to what you would think that they would.
Well, we'll see if this round plays out as slowly as the previous two.
Seems to be the case.
Like I said, teams tighten things up when you are this close. When you are so close to being able to put a match away, the aggression doesn't tend to come out as frequently. Oh, this is a new one.
That is a new one indeed, yeah.
They're sepia colored.
Yeah.
This is very nice.
It kind of looks nice with the outlines, the blue and the red. Oh, we're back. Oh, no, there it is. We're back.
We're not back. This is still... There we go.
Oh, there it is. Nice.
All right. Well, very nice. It was almost like we were in an old detective movie, an old murder mystery. Yeah, you see, we were just trying to play some Rainbow Six. Oh God, what is happening now?
We're getting mute jammed. I mean, there is a jab on the board. It's Paolo. Paolo, what are you doing? Can you please stop, man?
I need you to knock that off. This is quite the trip.
Either way, the round commences. We continue on forward. Similar fashion from SSG, going for a horizontal attack, not really caring too much about the verticality up above. And they actually have more time to spare than Team Liquid did when they tried this exact same attack just the last round. So if Liquid could do it, so could SSG.
We're getting a nice overhead point of view now as it appears that we are back in action as we were deprived of the ability to see the action for but a moment. Nobody has died. Good thing that there hasn't been any action transpiring on your screen. Air jabs going off will prevent easy rotates, but Reset's playing the kill angles down below. If he wants to get back to the bomb site, he could just jump through that little area in the middle, back down towards Memorial. Grenades going off, and Nesk will patrol the area, looking to see what exactly is being done. Toxic canisters as well, blanketing some of the entrance into Memorial, preventing Space Station from getting in to get a plant down towards Kitchen. Skies is holding on to that diffuser, and he is exactly by the Memorial window. Yep. What will he do? 30 seconds to go. Calm before the storm. Match on the line for Space Station. They know how critical it is that they win their own map. They did it yesterday in 15 rounds against FaZe. They're looking to do the same, but what a shot that is to take out Hot and Cold. Resets falls next. Both teams trade one back and forth. Shotgun in hand for Ask. He drops Rampy. They walk right on in. A vault in now as Bosco picks up another kill. Fultz with one to his name, but the diffuser needs to go down. 5 seconds. The diffuser must get planted, but it's been surrendered by none other than Nesk, who picks up 2 enormous kills, and Liquid, by a score of 8-6, will take the map off of only the 5th defensive round victory. They snatch Space Station's map away from them and set themselves up to close the deal on Oregon, their map choice next.
I will say, we spoke about Nesk, we spoke about Paolo. I want to talk a little bit about Ask. New gunner on this squad together with Resets. He went 12 and 11 on that very final round with the smoke, played a crucial round, got 2 kills, stalled for time as well, and played an overall fantastic game. Rampy from the side of SSG, phenomenal in the first half of the round, got a little bit quiet towards the end, wasn't able to really close out the map. But there's more to come. Next map, we're gonna go on Oregon, the map pick from Team Liquid. They played that against Rogue. It was a 7-4 victory in favor of Liquid. So now we're going to where Liquid is experienced, as SSG had played Villa previously yesterday.
The long faces on the players of Space Station tells a story. Not that we try to read too much into that kind of thing, but they definitely look demoralized after that, I think for very good reason. But if you're not particularly confident on this map, then this could be you walking into your own doom. If you fear this Team Liquid team and you think that they have a better grasp of Oregon than you do, you know that by losing Villa, you've effectively lost the best of 3 because it won't end up going to a third map. Surprises happen at a top level, and of course, there's no better place than to be surprised than the Six Invitational when teams are always on their A game. That said, this is a debilitating loss for Space Station. I would not have a lot of confidence afterwards. It's very easy to get inside your own head, and despite the performance you had against FaZe yesterday, it was a grind. Yeah. And it looks like no matter what happens, this best of 3 for Space Station will be a grind either way. Will Liquid close this out in just 2 minutes?
He just ran it? Wow.
Well, if you didn't tune into map 1, then you missed an absolute heater between both Team Liquid and Space Station Gaming. And despite going out to an early lead, the latter half of the match did not work out so well for one of the North American hopefuls. Team Liquid clawed it back, and then in overtime, ended up taking the map. The problem for Space Station is that was their map. We now go to Oregon, Liquid's pick, and Liquid just demolished Rogue on this map yesterday, 7-4. What do you expect on Oregon? And before we get there, what were your takeaways on Villa before we get the match summary up on your screen?
So takeaway from Liquid, first of all, on their attacking side, they like to wait around and take their time, waiting for their opponents to make the first move, and SSG a couple of times got caught with their pants down, right? Moving an inch too much to the left sometimes, or to the right, and they lost the opening kill quite a bit. SSG on the first half on their side, on their attacking rounds, looked stellar. If they can keep that up for Oregon, play proactively and active on the map, on their defensive side, roam around the map, really challenge Liquid on the injury points, that's what I want to see. We can take a look at the stats in front of us. Nesk, top gunner for Liquid, 16-8. Rampy, top gunner for SSG, 13-12. But most rounds came down to kills, at least in the last half of these rounds.
And that's the thing. Both Rampy and Fultz had 8 kills apiece by the end of that first half. They didn't amount to much more after that. The rest of the team did step it up, but Nesk became white hot after round number 5, where he accumulated almost all of his kills. It was Palu to start off the killing for his team, but then it was Ask and Nesk to carry the load.
Certainly, and the cost from Team Liquid as well, pretty even above the board. 79 on the top player and then 64 on the bottom two, whereas on SSG, it's 79 up top, 36 at the bottom. So the floor and the ceiling is a bit different between these two teams, kind of speaking to the fact that Liquid as a team played a little bit more together, where SSG had a little bit more individuality, if you will. But either way, Oregon plays out a bit differently than Villa does, so what happened in the past doesn't have to repeat itself in the future necessarily.
There's strategic depth there from Liquid, but the one hallmark of a strong Liquid performance has always been what they can pull together on that scoreboard. And like we said during the match, Palu and Nesk are the two players that tend to stand out. Two of the most prolific and consistent players in this game's history. And you got PSK, who's mesmerizing us with his eyes currently. Okay. All right.
I got it. I'll call him later.
All right. Maybe later. PSK is able to pull his own weight, but the two new players on this team, Ask and Resets, they got picked up after both Moringa and Sexy Cake were dropped from this team. Now, there was some confusion as to why this would happen after a disappointing exit to Team 1 in Mexico. Team Liquid effectively blew up the core of this roster. A team that's been together for years, frankly, and they bring in two young and promising players. If you don't follow the LATAM scene, I guess extensively, you wouldn't really know who Ask or Resets are, but they certainly have shown us in the 2 matches that they played thus far, and there's still plenty of time for them to continue building upon this legacy. Ask in particular was the player that you praised at the tail end of map number 1.
Certainly, and I think it's always very fun to see new players rise to the occasion. It's never fun seeing your favorite players being let go or an old team that's been staying together for many years like Liquid has, and then implode. 2 players, they get kicked or benched, you pick up 2 new players. It can be very hard as a long-term fan to accept that fact. But then you see them play, you see what they're capable of, and you say, okay, well, if this is a better Liquid or an equally good Liquid, I can be okay with that.
And I mean, what is the ceiling for this Liquid team, right? This Liquid team won Pro League Season 7 in Atlantic City, but then since then, I think it's fair to say that their international performances have been quite lackluster. The only real good opportunity they had at winning a championship actually came at the Six Invitational just a year ago. It was in Paris for SI 2021, and they lost to Ninjas in Pajamas. Since then, the struggles for Liquid have continued, and consistency tends to be an issue. With this new roster, Liquid winning BR6, Liquid being here now as dominant as they are, consistency doesn't seem to be as much of an issue at this present moment. Will that continue onwards? Well, our next look at it is going to be here on Oregon for map 2. The ban phase underway. Space Station starting on defense for Team Liquid's map.
Yeah, we see SSG taking out the Nomad. Liquid is very boring. They take out the Thatcher. I like SSG Spies here having a target pick for every single map, essentially making sure that they can get the kind of gameplay that they want to see. Liquid taking their time with this defensive ban could be a number of things. Valkyrie is the easy one. It will be the Kite instead, matching the Thatcher ban essentially, making sure that basement isn't too difficult to attack because remember, Liquid is starting on the offense. So they want to ensure they can get up as many victories as possible before the side swap and get nice and cozy in their seat. Okay, SSG banning Warden. You know what that means, Parker? Hot and cold on the Ying or Bosco. They can both do it.
Somebody. They're gonna bring flashbangs. They're gonna bring smokes. They're gonna bring all the firepower in the world, coupled with the ability to confuse, disorient, blind, obscure, whatever you want to say. There are so many options here. You can bring a Glass, you can bring a Ying.
Resets is showing the Ying as well, no way.
I mean, if you take Warden away from us, then we're just going to do the same thing to you. And we know that Space Station like playing Warden, so why not try? But it's a bait! No!
I was so excited. I was thinking, Reset's new player for his team gonna play Ying here in the first round of Oregon. That is a massive W in my book. He just 6-picks the LMG Finger instead. That breaks my heart. I'm sure we'll see the Ying though at the very least when the SSG goes on the offense, but for now it's SSG on the defense of all things. Now, I want to see SSG getting active here. I want to see the same for Liquid, to be frank. So both teams kind of need to play the same similar fashion. But remember, Liquid on their attacks were really slow in Villa, waiting for you to make the first move. So SSG, they can kind of abuse that. You need to play a little bit slower. You need to play very much together. But also, you got to really pick the area you want to be on. We saw Hot and Cold a couple of times in Villa, roaming in basement, roaming on first floor. And each and every time he get picked off by Paulo, who was on the Jackal. That, however, has changed. Paulo is now finding himself on that L85 on Sledge of all things. PSK following up with that global gadget of the Lion EE1D scanner. So, a different kind of approach for Liquid than the one they showed on Villa.
Well, let's get things underway with round number 1. Space Station on defense on Oregon. Once again, most maps coming into this event had the distinction of being defender-sided. It's not one of those circumstances where it's based on the meta, it's based on the operator bans, etc. You expect the defense to do well. That wasn't the case on Villa one bit. The attackers had an absolute ball, winning 2/3 of the rounds, and the most pivotal defensive victory came by Team Liquid in that final round to give them the win. We'll see if that holds true here on Oregon. If you're a fan of Team Liquid or a fan of the Brazilian squad at all, then you're going to hope that the same pattern on Villa carries over, with Liquid punishing SSG. I saw during the break that the description used on Twitter to describe the attacks from Liquid was clinical, and I think that's very apt. It's a Dorms defense to start things off for Space Station upstairs, and once again, that Warden ban could have caused some headaches for SSG, but Team Liquid going back with shades of the yellow meta, which is Finka and Lion brought together.
Bosco successfully impact trade these 6 Hibana pellets from the wall. That means another 6 will have to come out from the side of Team Liquid. That's not going to do a bunch of damage. It's going to slow them down and limit how much breachability they will have to offer. And also keep in mind, there will be no attic pressure from the side of Team Liquid. It is a single Heartbreach setup, no can openers, so Master Bedroom Breach is all they're going to get. They will need to most likely rotate a player to that big window or Kickstorm Repel, or maybe even down on White Stairs. They cannot all be inside of Master Bedroom.
Ness going for the common nade spot just in case somebody was sitting by the bunks, but there's nobody there. SSG playing a more sheltered style of defense, not quite as in your face as we tend to see from teams, playing that shrewd angle by the big window. Instead, they are bracing for the tidal wave of Liquid to crash against the shore. Resets will wait out the second EE1D, hoping that somebody will move a muscle from SSG, but nobody does that just yet. Still 3 Adrenal Surges in his pocket, if you want to call it that. A nade in hand as well. Palu with nades too, so there's destructive capabilities. Final EE1D will go, and Ask is inside of the bomb site. A very early plant. 40 seconds to go, and there doesn't seem to be any intel here, as Fultz can't hit a shot to save his life. Resets with 2 big kills as the diffuser gets planted. Ultimate coverage for Liquid. so far, so good. And they've headed for the hills, by the way. Space Station has no idea where they seem to be. Taking the engagements, that's a lucky one for Skies. Back up the stairs he goes, but cannot outduel resets. It's a down. Nesk resets in Palu with the Adrenal Surge wearing off. Waiting patiently at the top of Armory stairs, it's all on Rampy, juggling around the corner with an SMG in hand, but this is a tough one to do, being chunked away at as Reset's looking to capitalize. He's dropped and downed by Rampy and MP5, but just like so many before him, and like SSG in the previous map, you cannot outduel Nesk when he's at peak performance. And round number 1 goes in favor of Liquid.
Rampy put on his dancing shoes in that 1v3, really sidestepping that doorway, trying to get wiggly with it. Ended up finding the kill, but did not find the run as there was 2 more remaining players from Team Liquid. If we take a look back at what happened at the tail end of that round, Team Liquid, they breached the wall. Yes, they rotated 1 player outside a big window. Amazing. Last player that wasn't the master bedroom side was white window, so they had all their grounds covered. And then what they did, they waited, seeing if anybody would walk into the lines of sight and getting a freebie. Nobody from SSG moved a muscle. So they just said, let's pop the line scan, the EE1D, then walk in and do a cheeky plant at what some American players call the bolo spot. It's that hot right corner from the trophy door, and it worked so well. But I will say, we rarely see recoil being an issue in Rainbow Six Siege, but Fultz with that Jaeger 416 definitely had a small case of problems when it came to the recoil, as he was whiffing a few bullets just a tiny amount above the head of the planter from Liquid, and ultimately that came back to bite him in the butt. Basement defense now for SSG, and we did see a 6-pick from PSK. It wasn't reasons to show it, but PSK now bringing out the Ying from the Lion, from one global gadget to not a global gadget for another one, but the Ying Candelas do affect a very large area.
We were excited to see a Ying on the previous round, and now we're actually going to see it come to fruition. And of course, the can opener, as you call it. And for all of you watching, if you'd like to take that up as a nickname, please do so. The can opener, of course, being that secondary gadget, which is the hard breach gadget in PSK's hands, is good enough to replace an ace or a thermite if all you're doing is taking care of the hatches on Oregon. As long as you don't have to deal with Kaid Electroclaws, which in this matchup they won't because he's banned, it allows you to get those 2 hatches inside of either main lobby or in meeting or even in security if you want, without having to risk anything and not having to dedicate a specific hard breacher to that.
Yeah, it's very good value, if you will, because you get the nades on the Maverick, he can take care of the walls, then you get PSK and the Ying, or a Flex operator in this case, with the can opener, the secondary hard breach gadget, who can take care of the hatches. Combined, you get the absolute most value per operator, and value is what Nesk is all about, because he gets the opening kill into Bosco, that's leashing off the board, and 1 less roamer for Liquid to worry about.
Bosco had already been tagged from just a little bit of a fracas, a skirmish down below, and there's none of those goo mines to really have their effect. Nice shot from Hot and Cold, that MP5 hitting onto PSK. And the Ying is down for the count. Keep that in mind. No more ability to blind out your opponents. This will be absent. It also means that those 2 can openers are gone, but guess what's happening? Half of the round in, and Liquid is inside of the bomb site, reading into Space Station. Their every move being watched. And again, clinical being the word. Almost flawless. If it wasn't for PSK getting killed earlier on, Liquid would have had nobody in the grave. 2-0, and again continuing the trend with what we saw on Villa. Liquid are so good on these attacks.
Don't you hate when you're roaming, like Hot and Cold, and all of a sudden your players inside scream, there's a guy on site, oh, he falls, second guy falls, and the last player standing is Hot and Cold, who previously was on the top floor of the map, had to run all the way back, and now has to retake the bomb site essentially. I hate that, at least. There's no worse feeling. That's why I'm an anger player, because I can either A, successfully defend the bomb site and thus not die, or B, I won't be in that frustrating situation where, well, the roamer's the last guy alive and I was the one who fell. So if anything, we're vibing. Being an anger player is no easy task either. You gotta ensure that both freezer, main stairs, and of course the big tower stairs is covered. So that's kind of where you depend on your teammates, that when they die or when they can, you hop on a camera or maybe even do it yourself and try and figure out where is the enemy is coming from. And it didn't seem like SSG had that figured out in the previous round. Remember, Valkyrie is available to be played on these rounds. It's the Warden, it's the Kaid that is spanned on the defensive side, which means information is available, but it hasn't been picked up just yet. Right now we're getting some shields from Fultz, picking up the Goyo. That's going to help SSG make fortified positions. And with the Wamai but no Jaeger, that'll be the only way they can protect them.
Back upstairs to dorms, SSG is going to go. Once again, Space Station did not take a timeout in that very first map. I would like to repeat that, despite the fact that SSG lost 8-6. They did not settle themselves down and allow Lycan to interject, or if he didn't want to step in, at least let the rest of the team talk to each other. At what point in this matchup do we potentially see a timeout get taken? Will SSG use it? Because it's not like the timeouts cost you anything.
No, it's free.
It's absolutely free for you to do it. So because of the fact that they are not taking a timeout, they are trailing when it comes to the ability to settle yourselves down. Fun fact, the score line was 5-3 for Space Station when Liquid took their timeout. Liquid then lost a single round from that point forward. So it just goes to show you that righting the ship is very doable. It's a run out from Rampy, by the way. He downs Ask, but Nesk is the one credited with the kill. The Hibana will be retrievable as Nesk now pivots. He's 4-0 to start off this match through 3 rounds. Not as impressive as the previous round. He's got quite a bit to go to get there, but Nesk was a slow starter on map 1. Not the case here.
That would have been such an important kill for Rampy as well. He's going to feel quite bad about that. And honestly, Rampy, if you can hear me right now, don't feel too down about this. You still got many more rounds to go. You still got the attack inside as well. So this one kill you failed to get doesn't matter too much. And Hot and Cold says, I got you there, buddy. You couldn't do it. I will instead. That's resets off the board. The Maverick gone. And also the nades that goes with it. And with Ask being 20 health from that revive, Liquid, they're not looking so healthy.
Oh, he's got to get something going, as does the rest of the team. SSG spread out quite effectively, not in the middle of the bomb site. Like before, Space Station do not want to play very aggressively. They're giving lots of ground to Team Liquid, and that might be their undoing, frankly. You typically don't want to give Liquid the ability to punish you in that way, but we'll see. Liquid read into it last time and got in to plant the diffuser quite quickly. This is about the time that Ask broke in to get the diffuser down. Space Station have at least kept them at bay. And Liquid have some stumbling blocks to overcome to get in. But oh my, never mind, I guess! Palu with 3 big kills. Palucifer, the devil there himself, leaving Skies to possibly perish. Shield breaking in front of his eyes, and he's got to be thinking to himself, what the hell am I going to do now? Is there somebody by a big window? Am I turning my backside to where the diffuser is being planted? He sees a device explode at the top of white stairs, so at least one is in that direction. He'll swing onto it and lose to Nesk. 2 kills for Nesk, 3 for Palu. That's a full house. Liquid up 3-0 and seemingly unstoppable.
Damned if you do and damned if you don't. If you give Liquid space, they will take it and abuse it. But if you try and roam like SSG tried previously on Villa, you also find yourself being shut down. In this particular instance, Liquid didn't do much for almost a full minute. SSG, they were waiting and they were ready, but the exact right moment, Paolo jumps through the satellite window and finds 3 kills, which completely just destroys the round from SSG. And now that you're down 3-0, the 6-pick finally comes through. Valkyrie's on the board. SSG will have more information to work with to figure out where exactly Liquid are and where they're stalling and what they want to achieve. They're also going to the tertiary bomb site of Kitchen Dining. So they're clearly desperate to try and get something working as they haven't found a round just yet. Still holding on to the timeout. I think this round on 3-0, or if you lose this round and go 4-0, would be the prime opportunity to take it, try and get a few rounds back before the swap, and then just really rely on your attacks, which I think SSG will be great on, but you cannot go on a 6-0 streak. Then you have no room for mistakes once you swap.
Oh well. SSG certainly seem like they're in free fall and there's no parachute at the moment. That's slowing it down one bit. SSG's last round victory came in round 11 on Villa. That was almost half an hour ago, by the way. If you're keeping track at home, it's been quite a while, and visible frustration on the Space Station team will continue to grow, especially knowing how that first map was so critical in this series. We could be looking at maybe just an attacker-sided matchup in general, hopefully these Valkyrie cameras keep it close, because I don't really care whether Liquid or Space Station wins. Nick, I don't know if you have a preference, but for me, I just want a close matchup. That first map was quite close, Villa, but Oregon, not shaping up to be. Valkyrie cameras thrown out outside, first EE1D is burned, nobody from Space Station caught out, and no action besides that.
Yeah, I mean, some spectators will be fans of SSG, and then some spectators will be fans of Team Liquid, but we are all fans of Rainbow Six Siege, and I would argue that most people would be perfectly okay with a banger game, more than one team specifically winning. Hot and Cold got cheeky with a jump out, that's the Valkyrie cams doing their work. Nothing really happened, a few bullets exchanged, both people taking damage, but that's pretty much about it.
And it was almost Ask who got taken down again.
Yeah.
In the previous round, a jump out happened and Ask got down, we got picked back up. Liquid still goes on to win the round. This time, nothing really ventured, nothing really gained. Both Hot and Cold and Ask lose the same amount of HP. Half point of this round and explosions happening all around Space Station. Grenades going in aplenty, but nobody from SSG has been found and punished for it, except for Bosco, as I say that. The caster curse is very real. The roaming Jaeger and Bosco having a poor performance in map number 1. It is carried over now to map 2, as he'll be in the grave. 0-4 here on Oregon. More damage being done from Liquid, this time onto Fultz. Hot and Cold dealing, unfortunately, getting more damage done to him as Liquid just continue to dole out the punishment.
Yeah, now SSG, they have all evacuated that top floor, that second floor level. So that means that now they can just rain terror from above with that verticality. Paolo doing really good work so far. Skies is hiding inside of a small tower, but besides that, there really isn't any map control from SSG. They're going to be falling by the numbers here because Foles is so low on health rather, and so is Hot and Cold. Liquid really have their work cut out for them this round.
They're going to have to stop this potential aggression at the bottom of the stairs. 35 seconds to go, and you have to move on over to that bottom floor bomb site, or rather, middle floor bomb site. I almost got caught up in the basement argument that you and I had spoken about. Hot and Cold through the wall, tries to track, but Palu finishes off what little is left, and now another one lined up very easily. Fultz walks into that. Rampy in a 1v4 with the diffuser planted by Ask. The post-plant for Rampy is dire. Hopeless, one would even say. He watches through all those kill holes made by the sledge as they've reversed their positions, but the only quick way back to the bomb site is through the dropped hatch. He sees Palu and softens up his shins, but the perspective definitely helps Liquid, and they are marching their way to a quick 2-0. They want dinner. It's almost dinner time here in Sweden. 5:35 local time. Liquid are hungry. SSG, the intended target, the prey, whatever you want to call them. 4-0 for TL.
Would you look at that? I mean, 4-0 is a great time to take a tactical pause, and I like you to that statement because SSG has finally taken their first timeout in the second map. Didn't take it on Villa despite losing, despite things not going their way. So far, to summarize the current map of Oregon, 4. That is the number of rounds we've played. 4 is also the number of rounds Team Liquid has won. And 4 is also the amount of opening kills going to the side of Team Liquid. You can kind of put that together and say Liquid on Oregon so far, 4-4-4. The only thing SSG is going for them is 0. 0 rounds won, 0 bomb sites where they have conquered much of anything, 0 opening kills, and Bosco even sitting on 0 kills himself. So this tactical timeout from SSG will need to try and bring them 1, if not 2 rounds before the side swap, where that Ying effect most likely will try and carry them forward on their attacks. But they need the rounds to be allowed to make mistakes, otherwise all Liquid will need is a single round win, and that'll be the end of this best of 3. And that means no third map, no Chalet, and that is where SSG needs to go if they want to win.
I'm very glad that SSG are taking their time out in hopes of getting this team on the right page. I don't know what's going on. From the looks of the camera, by the way, it doesn't really seem like SSG are speaking all that much. Now, this just might be us missing it when it does flick to them, either actively in the round or afterwards when they're doing a post-mortem on every single round. But if Space Station are not communicating, they're losing, and that's really what it comes down to with Rainbow Six. If you're not talking to your teammates, making callouts, and helping each other with intel, you will lose. Liquid is a very vocal team. SSG tend to be as well. But when frustrations end up happening, when tempers run high, it is common for teams to go quiet. Your likelihood of winning drops significantly, the less you talk to your teammates. Hopefully this kickstarts something with SSG, because we've got a bit of a stinker on our hands for you SSG fans, as it's 4-0 for Team Liquid.
No, you're absolutely right, and both, as you said, like both teams are quite emotional as well. And when you're riding the high, everything's great. But when you're riding the low, it's important to have somebody to be able to step up and be like, guys, hey, we got this. Come on, whoa, yeah, let's go. Okay, we lost the round, but that's fine. Hey, you get a kill, you get a kill, we all get a kill. Having that yes man, or the happy guy, or a clown, if you will, whatever term you want to use, can be extremely valuable when you're finding yourself on the losing side of these matchups. Right now, that's SSG, as Liquid are storming through Oregon so far. I like what SSG is doing this round. They're getting active. They're roaming, extending into the entry points from Team Liquid, killing one drone, falling back a little bit, probably gonna look for a second, and slowing down Liquid is a very good tool to use because Liquid by nature in themselves are quite slow. So slow plus slow does not equals positive fast in this case. That means giga slow. Oh, but Paolo is not slow at all. He's so quick, finds the head of Rambi, and that must be so frustrating of a way to go out after a timeout.
Oh, Rampy. The thing is that when Rampy gets frustrated, his stats tend to suffer very quickly. Rampy tries to overcompensate. He gets very emotional. He's talked about this in countless interviews. The two top fraggers at the end of Villa were Rampy and Fultz. They currently combined for 1 kill. They combined for just a single kill on round number 5. Rampy is certainly not going to be helping that stat at all because he's gone. It's really a bad spot to be in for Space Station. They are losing their direct engagements. They are getting outfoxed when it comes to strategy. They're in a rough spot, and I don't know what they're going to be able to do to fix it.
They're going to need to get at least 1 round soon, just try and turn the tide around. And I mean, in an ideal situation, if SSG can steal a round from Liquid, you know, a round that should be theirs, but they say, ha, we take it back, you don't get this one. Try and play the mental a little bit, shift into their favor. That would be the absolute best case scenario, but Liquid, they're playing such stable Rainbow Six Siege. Look at them, they got the opening kill, and now they're just slowing down, rotating together. They don't want to make any mistakes or create any openings that could favor their opponents. It's really, really well done.
Focus for Liquid at the moment, with 45 seconds left, is on blue, but they're well spread out. Ask will be the one to charge on in. No reinforcements to be found, so he doesn't need to tear through that. That might be a bit of an oddity, and they will worry, if they haven't droned it out, as to what could lay on the other side of that wall. Instead, Resets takes the fight, and he wins. Again, Space Station just cannot do much with these gunfights. A mirror window stopping them from advancing, but Palu will nade it out. Right there, drop down. Not enough damage being done to Skies. Fultz has fallen, so is Hot and Cold. SSG's numbers continue to dwindle. They'll retake from the back, but Bosco gets softened up, and a flawless round will happen unless Skies can get one. He will. On to Palu. Diffuser going down. Ask can stop for a second. Skies snapping through. 2 kills, 3 kills. Skyry going for more than that, but the timer will now work against him. 40 seconds. Skies pausing for a moment. Take a deep breath. Still sitting on top of the diffuser is Ask. I don't know if Skies is prepared for this. Tracers go over, and he at least knows someone is in the vicinity. There's backup for Liquid onto PSK. Instead, Skies will aim. He knows they're exactly there, but luck runs out after 3 kills. A valiant effort from Skies falls just short. Liquid continue their streak of dominance. They're up 5-0.
I spoke about stealing a round would heavily favor SSG's mental. Imagine for a moment that Skies had clutched out that round. If he had had a C4 in his hand in that 1v2 to deny the plant, that would have set him up for success. But that C4 was used earlier in the round. It wasn't available at his disposals. Nice shot on the first 2 players, but couldn't finish it through. And SSG, they played a tight ship in those 1v2s. Liquid, however, they were kind of running around, and it made me scared. It made me nervous for a moment, because if you're Liquid, sure, you're up 4-0, but you don't want to lose the rounds that you already won by throwing it, by misplaying those 1v2 or 1vx situations. They closed it out. They got the round, and SSG are still looking to try and get some sort of way inside of Oregon. We still have Fultz and Bosco not really finding their first kill yet. Once they do, we'll have a real 5v5. But as I say that, I look at PSK. He's also joining them down the bottom. It's actually a 3v4 in terms of scoreboard. But remember, Just because you haven't gotten a kill does not mean you haven't had impact and value to your team. You still got the gadget. Fultz, for example, right now, playing the mute, has the shotgun, will be opening up the floor, making rotation flows, etc. So you'll always be having value for your team in these situations.
Final stead for SSG here on defense. Drones going unseen, so that's some information for Liquid already, as it was down inside of what appeared to be kitchen, but hard to tell from that perspective as to where it was going to go. Liquid firing on all cylinders right now. Palu and Nesk accounting for 15 kills. That goes up to 23 if you add resets. Ask had a standout performance on the previous map. Resets faded into the background. This time, it's Resets leading the charge. He and Palu are tied for most kills on their team. Yeah. I don't want to bring up Fultz and Rampy yet again, but one kill between them both is just simply not good enough for this level of play.
Yeah, and actually Resets not just having good impact in terms of pure fracking power going 8 and 3, but half the opening kills, I would say, has basically been from him. And then, of course, splitting the rest between Paolo and Nesk, the aggression that they bring. PSK right now, he's just the EE1D scanner. He's doing drone work, gadgetry and whatnot, and that's all Liquid needs.
The first opening pick of this map for SSG finally happens. Fultz breaks his 0-kill streak, gets himself on the board, and of all the players to take down, one of the highest trophies that you can get, Nesk is the one that he ends up finding. SSG also had 2 players inside a back tower. I'm not sure if you saw that, but if Liquid have not droned out the top of the tower, they don't know that Rampy is there. They might think they have Bosco trapped, but it's a bait. Hot and Cold gets dropped, so SSG's lead will continue to grow. And now it's Resets on the hunt, finds Fultz, down he goes. A grenade here as well with the Lion EE1D to go, and Skies moves at the last second. Smart play from him. I don't know if he heard the pin get pulled or there was just a premonition there. But that sixth sense helps him out and allows him to get away quite safely. 1 minute and 15 seconds left in the round is flown by. You're holding your breath if you're an SSG fan. I know you are, because Team Liquid can go to match point, series point, if they turn out a successful round.
Yeah, very lucky, quote-unquote lucky, that Skies got away from that grenade. That would have been a huge kill for Liquid, shutting down the toxic canisters, and of course, the strong position of Kid Storm that Skies is defending, ensuring that nobody from Liquid can jump in that big window without him having a say in that with a gunfight. Paolo working his way up the white stairs, now having a gunfight while we see Resets on this rappel. Liquid, they're just trying to fish for a kill. They know they're outnumbered right now.
Palu not just taking damage on white stairs, but also being blocked off in terms of access and line of sight with that toxic canister. PSK tussling, but re-engaging with the shotgun. Skies wins that one. The numbers for Team Liquid will now dwindle even more. Space Station holding that upper hand, looking for their very first round. They called a timeout and it didn't really work, but they're hoping to salvage something. Bosco, a bit of a sloppy endeavor against Resets, but he walks away with it quite well. Palu sees the nitro cell go off in front of him. He's dropped the diffuser, and I think he'll throw up his hands and realize that this round is a losing effort. Finally, the brakes on the train of Liquid seem to be engaged ever so slightly as Space Station makes their mark at the final second and get onto the board. The first half in the books. Liquid emerges with a massive lead, 5-1.
You know, I'm a bit curious. You see that 1 versus 4, Paolo's like 1 health, etc., but on white stairs. Basically, nobody from SSG dared run towards him. They didn't care about that kill, and I might ask the question, are SSG a little bit scared or just overly disciplined right there? I don't see why you could just run at Paolo, be like, haha, I'm gonna try and get the kill, etc. It's not like your KD matters anyway, but I guess that's a little bit besides the point. We do have a side swap. This is exactly where we expect SSG to be popping off. We know how great they are in Oregon attacks. We know how pro-efficient they are at using the Ying, especially for basement bomb site. And guess what? The first defense from Team Liquid is in the basement. Guess what as well? SSG, they banned the Warden, so of course, Liquid should 100% see this coming, which means Liquid should have a clear way to play around this Ying pick, and I don't think the mirror is the way. Remember, the black mirror, it works the same way as regular eyeballs do through that window. You still get flashbanged if you're standing behind it and looking through it, which means the Ying doesn't care about them. I don't see right now exactly what Hot and Cold has picked, but I see top right of my screen that there are 2 smoke grenades on the board, presumably from Hot and Cold. So all eyes on Hodden. If he can break the entry and get SSG into the bomb site and give them a way in, that is how they're going to win the rounds. For Liquid, on the other hand, extending out and roaming aggressively, trying to get a kill somewhere will be huge for them.
Liquid have controlled the pace of most of this matchup. The only time I would say they didn't were the first 3, 4, 5 rounds of Villa. Even when SSG was winning a number of those rounds, I still think Liquid had the tempo or matched the tempo. If they can try to do that on defense, which is significantly harder to do, by the way, if you can still accomplish that on defense and allow yourself to be the one that is correctly pacing the match for you and the rest of your team, then it pays dividends more often than not. Spacestation could run headfirst into a brick wall on defense if Liquid roam aggressively, especially if SSG aren't talking to each other, especially if SSG are rattled or tilted, then their drone work and their coordination with one another might not be as good as you expect it to be. They've made it inside of the building, though, as it's a laundry and supply room defense for Liquid down on the bottom floor, and immediately a grenade gets chucked out by Rampy. He's only got access to 2 of them, one of them is already gone, and it heads to the back tower stairs. 1 minute off of the clock, SSG still very much in the discovery phase, while they're also getting the hatches to try then and shift their focus to the bomb site below.
That they are indeed, and we didn't see Liquid really extending out that aggressively. They have only managed to kill a single drone from the side of SSG, and honestly, Liquid, that is not quite good enough. You know the Ying is coming, and there's nothing you can do about it. You have great aimers, you have incredible aim, but if you cannot see, you cannot shoot straight either. So, early aggression, that's where my money's at. You haven't shown it this round, and I hope it punishes you, and that you will learn from it going forward. SSG going for a backside take, 2 guys outside of blue, 1 person on that back tower stairs, and then you have Skies on that meeting hatch. But remember, all eyes on Hot and Cold. That's the gadget that will break the round, but of course, the gunplay has to follow it up from all members of SSG.
They know exactly where they lay inside of the bomb site. As that first Zofia stun goes out, it'll hit PSK, connecting quite well. He's drone 2, now flashed out. PSK's in a tough spot. You know that the guns on SSG are often fully capable of doing damage, and they'll do just that. PSK the very first target. Ask pushing up on his own smoke, but he's being watched by Bosco, and I don't think he's aware of that. First round of Candelas going. There'll be a blinding effect. More to come, surely. Hot and Cold's actually used all of them already, so they haven't happened in the cut and thrust, but the nade goes in and it's cleared the way. Rampy and Hot and Cold credited with all these kills, and how about a statement round from Space Station? Rampy's very happy about that. A flawless start to the second half for SSG.
That's gonna do wonders for the mental game of SSG. Liquid, not entirely sure about that basement first side pick, and not really sure about staying on the bomb site itself. You gotta get out there and get active, but we saw what happened, and now they'll actually go back to basement once again with a similar lineup. So surely they have read the situation and they think, oh, we did something wrong, now let's fix it. Exact same lineup coming out from SSG. They don't even 6-pick the Ying, because honestly at this point, Liquid knows it's coming, and SSG can keep showing that, and then 6-pick other operators, which is what Force is doing right now, going from the 150 LMG of Zofia onto the Flores. That's gonna help them again clear utility and take certain ground. So once again, SSG targeting the bomb site. Liquid gotta do something about that, otherwise history might just repeat itself. But the great thing about being up so many rounds when you're Team Liquid is that it doesn't really matter if you lose 1 or 2. You have so many more to go, and all you need is just 2 rounds to go in your favor, and that's that.
I mean, the other thing to keep in mind is Liquid also has access to a timeout. So if they need to, SSG already used theirs earlier on at the tail end of round 4. Liquid have access to one. They can call it whenever they want. Silence is standing behind them. At any point, he can start talking to them as well. And you cannot take away how impactful a timeout can be when things start to go sideways. For Liquid, it was incredibly successful in the previous map. And for SSG, they took a timeout, immediately dropped the next round. But since then, 2 rounds to their name. It's also possible the timeout was taken with the foresight of a side swap. Maybe their focus wasn't even on that first half, and instead, they wanted to try and sharpen their knives for attack. It worked out for Space Station. Like we said, a flawless first round on this half, but a lead from Team Liquid that is not entirely insurmountable, but will require more of that from Space Station.
No, I think you're absolutely correct. I mean, the Warden ban specifically speaks to the nature of SSG's attacks, but I also think they hoped, or at least predicted, that they would get more ground on their defensive side, but SSG, they have the skill to get through all the way with each and every single attack here. But again, sometimes you are just unfortunate. Sometimes you are just unlucky. And last round, SSG, every single decision they made rewarded them. There was no mistakes or clear punishable mistakes made from them, and that resulted in a flawless round. Liquid, it doesn't look like they've changed much from the previous time around, except for the fact that PSK is roaming up in tier 3, basically being an annoyance factor to SSG, because if they want to go for a backside, they have to fear the flank. This is going to give SSG the question, are we going to clear out PSK up in tier 3, or are we going to leave him there and just hope that he doesn't come for us and with the flank? Oh, hot and cold, actually. Gadget comes out.
He's just going in.
That's a great way to do it.
And it works.
The gunfight, yeah, it's easy.
Perfectly. Hot and cold at Rampy down below to assist too. Those dual LMGs on both Ying and Finka working out so well. Rampy wasn't really needed, but PSK was upstairs at Deadman, and he's still been unable to get a single kill, by the way. Through these 8 rounds of action, PSK finds that even one eludes him. Not that it really matters all that much, because Liquid are still clobbering when it comes to just the scoreboard. Strategically, SSG looking more sound on their attacks than on defense. Nitro Cell goes off, nearly claiming Hot and Cold. Rampy hits the Adrenal Surge after taking down Ask. The lead for SSG in terms of numbers grows. Bosco baits out a smoke and then gets out of there. Resets on the hunt, pushing up. Will try to do what he can with the head, but cannot connect. He'll still play off of the deployable shield. Rampy taken out by the Vector, Apollo in hand. More Candelas going off. Hot and Cold firmly in the middle of the bomb site. Rushing up, but they don't know that Palu's still playing on the same angle. He drops him. Resets down on elbow. Playing through that soft wall. Palu will search for another kill. Nesk and Palu, the last 2 up. You can never count them out. These two tend to work wonders when working side by side. But there goes Nesk on a nice shot from Bosco. Palu searching for one on the Bosco. Gets it! Stops him! But Fultz saves the round. Remarkable stuff from Space Station. Were it not for Fultz, that's it for Liquid, and they go to match point. But instead, Space Station find their 3rd in a row.
That was in the absolute last second of the round as well, because there was nobody left planting. Everybody was taken out besides Fultz, but he took out the last player from Liquid instead, and thus SSG, they somehow get the round. I will say, Hot and Cold with the Candelas, taking out PSK in that tier 3 of Big Tower. That was a round-defining moment. PSK was going to make so much trouble from SSG. It was a huge problem, and it looked like they weren't going to deal with it, but little do you know, it was Matthew himself, Hot and Cold, on that rappel, threw one single Candela in the window and rappelled in. It was an absolutely free kill. And now Liquid says, we tried basement twice, it did not work for us. We're gonna go up above on Kid Storms. And now we're almost seeing what SSG was doing in the fence, now reflected onto Liquid. Because if they lose this one, where do they go next? Are they gonna go tertiary? Are they gonna say, oh, back to basement? Oh, maybe try Kid Storms one more time? Either way, it can be so frustrating when nothing is working on your defense, and that is what's happening for Liquid right now. They're even bringing out the Echo. Much like SSG, when they were on defense playing Valkyrie, they want more information. They want to be able to make these decisions knowingly about what's happening and what's going on. Meanwhile, SSG, they bring 2 Heartbreachers, right? They got the Maverick and they got the Hibana, which means they can both breach the attic wall and they can breach the master wall. And they can choose and pick where they want to attack from. And as long as Hot and Cold's alive on this Ying, it will be quite easy to get inside the bomb site.
Well, 3 rounds in a row for Space Station, as was said. One flawlessly. Liquid fought back, and I think played that quite well, but they didn't have much support up top. The Warden ban from Space Station being shown exactly why they wanted to do it. That is the Ying being brought religiously. I'm not much of a praying man, but if you're a fan of Space Station, and you're praying that that Ying continues to pay dividends. Whether it's Bosco playing it, whether it's Hot and Cold playing it, it doesn't matter. Space Station bringing Ying on Oregon Well, it goes together just like peanut butter and jam. Bosco taking some damage as he enters the top of tower now. 1 minute of action. Still in the discovery section, exploration section of this map where you want to try and find where the defenders are playing. 2 attempts at laundry have failed for Team Liquid, so they will scoot on over to that Dorms bomb site. Palu surviving, and he gets droned out. 2 drones, in fact, to his name, and he will retreat through the catacombs underneath Oregon, trying to get back to that staircase and head up to the bomb site. All the while, Space Station's attention is over by Small Tower as 2 of their players sit in Dining Hall. While drone work is being done by Skies, Fultz has the Rotero drones at his disposal, still all 4 of them, and they will likely go for whichever destructible gadgets he can find. In this case, there's Goyo shields, and there's Banshees scattered throughout the bomb site that he needs to take care of.
There's actually 3 players inside of Liquid roaming earlier in the round. Now just back to Paolo as 2 more players has gone back to bomb site, which makes sense because SSG are knocking on the walls, they're knocking on the doors, and honestly, right now, it's going quite well. Liquid, they've managed to kill 6 drones from SSG, only 4 remaining. So that means either the flanks will be open or they will have limited information once they get to the bomb site. Hot and cold on this attic window. That could be the engagement, but that's going to be a bait because majority of SSG, they're not there with him. They're going to be big window and wide stairs with the exception of Bosco holding down the flank in big tower.
Rampy has a nade ready, but he gets swung on while he throws it out. Candela's going off too. Bosco hunting shadows on the back of tower stairs. 1 for Skies, he leads things off, swiftly answered by PSK. 1 for Rampy as well, as SSG continue to go. 20 seconds left. Skies at the halfway point with the round, as he's got the diffuser down. PSK drops, but a literal drop from Fultz right into the waiting arms of Palu will leave Nesk upstairs all by his lonesome. 3 players from SSG watching this diffuser. Nesk gets 1, Palu as well. It leaves Bosco in a clutch situation. He's still got the adrenal surge wearing off. Other than that, the diffuser is not too far away. Hiding at this angle. He's got a hard wall. He'll get swung by 2 players that both have low HP, but Nesk is on the ground. The Rat plays with the shotgun in hand. It breaks the streak of Space Station, and Team Liquid move to series point.
That was a nicely played 1 versus 2. For a brief moment, I thought, oh, Liquid, they're gonna peek single-handedly, but then they took like 2 seconds, made sure that they could rotate inside of Kid Storm, with the last player being on that attic door battle swing, and they basically get a 1 versus 2 in the moment. And the only way SSG wins that round was with a nice 180-degree flick from Bosco, and that is such a hard thing to do. Well played by Nesk, well played by Paolo. It's the duo to do it all, and now match and series point for Liquid. They have gotten a dub upstairs on Kid Storm defense, and now they're gonna go back downstairs. I will say, the number 1 takeaway for the success difference is arguably in the early round. They killed 6 drones in the first minute and a half on the attack and roam game. That's not something they managed to do in the last previous 2 defenses in the basement. So again, being active is the key word of this match. You want to make sure you slow your opponents down, deny information, and if possible, try and get a kill or some damage, because if you just sit in the bomb site, then the attackers will get exactly what they want, the map, they will get the time, and they will get the resources to do whatever they want, and that is when it's a bad time to be a defender. SSG, now the pressure is on you. The eyes are on you. You now need to go out and just take this win into your own hands. There is no more time and no more room for mistakes. This is it.
All right. Well, I'd like to remind you that there is another matchup going on the other stream for those that have not been paying attention. I feel it's important to do that.
Yes.
It's Cyclops versus Rogue. I'm not going to update you as to what the score is because, well, I actually don't know what it is right now.
Okay.
But if you want to go over there for the remainder of the day, twitch.tv/Rainbow6, bravo.
Bravo.
I need to say bravo at the end because I failed before that. Go ahead and do that.
Yeah.
Whether that Rogue Cyclops match is still going or is over, there's still going to be one more match over there. Same with here. Anyway, if you're just tuning in, Team Liquid are up 6-3, and they are about 2 minutes and 20 seconds away from potentially putting this series into the dustbin. SSG had a close matchup on Villa, but Oregon has been quite one-sided, and despite a nice comeback from SSG brewing it only ended up amounting to 3 rounds. Still time for SSG to do the unthinkable and push us to overtime, but with the way Liquid's been playing, it seems unlikely. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves. There's a round to play.
Yeah, but then again, Liquid, there's just all 5 players on site. They're not being efficient at all. They're just waiting for SSG to march down into the bomb site. Sure, PSK rotating those Jaeger ADSs, trying to guess where the push is coming from, but to be completely honest, I can see the top-down view, and I don't even know where the execute's coming from. So the best that they can do is guess, and guessing is not good enough when it comes to playing against SSG.
No. Split pushes tend to happen quite often on this bottom floor bomb site, Nick, whether you want to go through blue, whether you want to go through freezer, back tower to pillar, front, through laundry. Laundry actually seems to be neglected by both of these teams. The favored son, when it comes to executes, are on pillars and on freezer. And with more of that freezer wall being opened up, SSG know that they're cutting off rotates from Liquid. They can't play with that same level of impunity from the rotate to the washing machines because you're going to be watched from somebody inside a freezer.
Oh my god, look at all these drones. That's what happens when you don't kill any. There's so many left. There's 8 left from SSG. They know exactly what the bomb site looks like. They're just going to analyze and then execute.
Palu has a drone actually right next to him, just on the other side of that soft wall. We saw the silhouette. They don't know that. And there's more drones being done, but some have been shot away. You talked about it. These drones being unsheathed by SSG and thrown with maybe some reckless abandon into the bomb site. Palu's expecting a push from the bottom of laundry stairs. 30 seconds to go. First Candela, it gets grabbed by the magnet. Another Candela gets tossed. Hot and cold has one more to go. It gets tossed out as well. Smokes go. C4 from Palu does not connect. Sky sprinting into the bomb site. Rampy greeted with Ask. The smokes are there, but Palu is doing a significant amount of damage. Sky's with the kill immediately onto the diffuser. Nesk will try to stop the rest of the team. Can't do it through the soft wall, so it's on the resets. Take down Hot and Cold. Diffuser planted in its maximum chaos inside of the bomb site. PSK, a nice shot on the Bosco. 1 HP for full.
So
Sky's also very, very low. Everybody is low except for resets. Flores sitting far back, watching the side of Skies. A nice kill on the PSK, but it's all on the shoulders of Fultz to clutch the round and keep his team in it, to keep his team alive. Liquid can sit on the diffuser. That's what they'll do. Skies or Fultz rotating. Resets at the halfway mark. Fultz the drops. You need to get to it, but Ness greets him, seals the deal. Liquid win the matchup just like that. Villa was close. Oregon not so. And Liquid do what FaZe couldn't. Topple SSG, and Liquid remain undefeated.
I will say, Foles, what a ballsy play to choose to go for the full rotation from freezer stairs back to lobby and drop the hatch. It would have worked if it wasn't for the fact that Nesk read it beautifully. There were no default cams alive. There was no way they had any idea that was going to happen except for the sheer experience and knowledge and perhaps in-game sound if possible. And honestly, Liquid had a fantastic game. We see Silence now. I don't speak Portuguese, but I assume that's a happy message.
Something about, I think, 85 years anniversary. I'm not entirely certain, but
Sure.
Like I said, I don't speak Portuguese either. Somebody translate for us, please. I'm sure we'll see it on Rainbow Six socials somewhere. What a remarkable comeback on Villa from Team Liquid. They use the energy and the motivation that they got. They channel it on Oregon, and that explains the long faces from Space Station after Villa. They knew, they might have known, maybe they did. I think they knew that it was effectively over. They kept their head mentally, the comeback started, but ultimately the mountain, the cliff, a bit too steep for them to climb. And just like that, Liquid make quick work of Rogue yesterday. They make quick work of Space Station today. 2 2-0s in a row. And I think that shows you exactly why when I talked to so many teams before we started our group stages, Liquid was the team to beat for most of the world.
Certainly, and we've seen teams like NIP not really filling the shoes that we're expecting as the current world champions. Liquid, however, really stepping up so far. Of course, it's still early, it's day 2, many more games to go, but if you're a Liquid fan or maybe just like a hater of Liquid, you can really now start seeing the potential of this roster with the 2 new players of Ask and Resets.
I think if you go back and rewatch the tape of these two teams, the one thing that will really stand out is that there are very real weaknesses that you can exploit from Liquid on defense. But on attack, Liquid look like one of the scariest teams here at this event. If you can figure out a way to slow Liquid down on their attacks, and they maintain that same level of play on defense, Nick, then Liquid become a far less formidable and far less scary team.
Absolutely.
But that's for other teams to figure out, not us. We're just casters. You and I are done for the day.
Yep.
There's still more Rainbow Six to come. One more match to be played on both this stream and the other. But before we get there, a quick and short break for you. We'll see you in just a couple minutes.